Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another wonderful, wacky Wednesday night of NWP. I'm your host this week, Eric Estep, joined as always by Jarrett, the Iceberg Lundberg, and Danny B. Baldwin. That didn't really roll off the tongue. I didn't think that one through. Danny B. Talks is here as well. Great to have you all joining us. David Land, the one and only, will be joining us in the second half of the show. I'm wearing a 1995 Brickyard 400 hat. I was gifted this by a fan a couple years back. Haven't had a great chance to wear it since then, but now with the return, feels like a great occasion. So David will be joining us the second half of the show. Excited to have him on with us. Hope everyone is doing well. Gentlemen, before we can get to Indianapolis and some of the latest NASCAR news, rumors, rumblings, discussion, conversation, we've got to talk about Pocono Raceway, the tricky triangle. Ryan Blaney just scored his second win of the season, his second win in the past month. Team Penske coming on strong. Ironically, it's Ryan Blaney's 12th career win for driver number 12 at the same track he got his first win 7 years ago. Jarrett, first impressions. Ryan Blaney, big winner, held off the Pied Piper of Pocono, as I called him earlier this week, Denny Hamlin. What do you make of that?
Well, first off, he made me look like an idiot again because I had him as my suck pick this week. I'll own up to it.
To be fair, I don't recall Danny's take, but I know you and I, Jarrett, were both, and many others, were kind of down on Ford. They'd been so good at the short tracks. We weren't buying them on the big tracks just yet. I think Blaney and for that matter, his teammate Joey Logano proved us all wrong. So you're not alone there. You don't be too hard on yourself.
Well, I'll say this. I do think that this does prove in a lot of ways that the Fords are coming on strong towards this middle sort of run into the playoffs part of the season. And I think we had thought that was probably going to happen at some point. So I don't think when you look at the big picture, it's too surprising. I think it's more the fact that, you look at the way that race ran out, and it looked like for a vast majority of it, it was going to just be the Toyotas. I'm pulling it up right now while I'm talking about it.
Denny Hamlin led 31 laps. Yeah. Ty Gibbs was on pole and led like 18. Truex led 14 laps. But that being said, Ryan Blaney shockingly did lead the most laps in this race, which kind of caught me off guard when I first saw that stat.
Yeah, led 44. And to add on top of that, too, Brad Keselowski, he ran 20 up front in the lead. So I think it's just more you're starting to see that mid-season into the playoff shift, and Blaney is the spearhead of that right now. You had Logano, who, I think he finished fifth? I want to say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he was fifth. So I can't say it's too surprising big picture-wise. I think I'm just surprised that it happened so quick, whereas I'd say maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, we're all saying, oh yeah, there might be like 3 Fords at the most in the playoffs. They're not going to be winning any more races outside of Gateway. We just wait for Phoenix at this point, and then Blaney goes out and does that. And that's I think that's a real statement, because I think this year he is way better than he was last year.
He's peaking earlier than he did last year. We were used to Penske being good in the final 10 races, but Logano won the All-Star race a couple of weeks ago, won Nashville, obviously, took advantage of some late race restarts. But Danny, that's 4 wins for Team Penske in the last 8 races. What do you make of this? Are they peaking too early, or is this really encouraging that we're seeing them so strong so soon?
Encouraging to see them be one of a handful of teams to get all their drivers a victory, for sure. But you could argue that yes, they probably are peaking too early. I don't see another win coming for Austin Cindric personally. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it happening. Logano, I have a prediction, so I hope he gets 4 wins this year. But I don't know if we're going to see that happen. Blaney could crack out a few more before the season's done. But I don't know. I don't know whether to say that they're a championship threat or not, because, Blaney, how many wins did he have last year? I'm struggling to remember. Did he have 3?
3. I think he had 3, right? Am I wrong?
He's already
2. Was it 2? I don't remember now.
I'll look. The chat will probably tell us.
He didn't win Phoenix, so that's throwing me off. I'm used to, champion.
Oh, yeah, he won 3.
I think he had 3.
Yeah, he had 3.
Well, he's almost to how many he won last year, and he won a championship with just three wins. So I don't know. It could be too early, but at the same time, he's done enough to now he's the only driver to have 2 wins. It's either guys with 3 wins or a bunch of guys with only 1 win. So he's kind of in an elite company there right now, but it separates him, gives him a lot of gap between him and the people who just have 1 win back there. So that extra win could be some cushion going into playoffs, and it really just depends on how they do in the playoffs. So it's still too early to tell, I think.
Yeah, and Ryan Blaney is up to 7th in the regular season standings. To your point, Danny, he's now, I guess, 5th in wins. He's the first driver with 2 victories on the season. Real quick, first off, couple of housekeeping notes I forgot to mention. Danny loves seeing that Alex Bowman shirt. We missed you last week live to celebrate Bowman's win, but I hope you had a good time at the most magical place on earth.
Alex Bowman fans, he won, and we have to go to Disney World. That's how we celebrate.
Yeah.
I was there. I saw our buddy Sloppy Joe and his wife. His wife is an Alex Bowman fan. We were there. That's
wow.
what fans do.
That.
We have to go to Disney World.
That's beautiful. That's poetic. Well, I wanted to say that it's great to have you back on the show live and in character this week, Danny. And chat, really appreciate the super chats we're getting here at the start. I've seen a few really interesting topics and questions brought up, some of which we will cover in our itinerary, but we will get to our first super chat stage break at the top of the hour. I also, now that we're off and rolling here, 650 is the light goal tonight. It's steep. This is a steep one. This, I think, is the highest light goal we've had of the year. It's going to be tough. I don't know if we're going to get to it, Jared. I think we've set the bar extremely high. I'm not sure if our very loyal, very generous and considerate viewers are going to be able to take us to the promised land this week. But if we hit that 650 number by the end of the show, we will unlock the random driver of the week segment.
Hey, they only have themselves to blame. They were the ones who were like, what's the point of a light goal if we always hit it? Okay, we'll raise it.
Yep, we have raised the bar. I wasn't going to say literally. We've raised the number that we must hit. And tonight is going to be a legitimate challenge. So if you're here, if you're enjoying any bit of the stream, please hit that like button and we may be able to do the random driver of the week. I know David will be looking forward to that if we get there in the second half of the show, because he's 1 for 1 this year on picking the random driver correctly. Congratulations to Ryan Blaney, though. Glad we could open up the show talking a little Blaney, a little Ford. I'm sure his name will come up again at the end when we talk about Indianapolis. But now I want to turn to, I think, the second big storyline of the weekend. Obviously, there's the victory. Who's hot? Who's not? We want to talk about who's not. It's Corey LaJoie and Kyle Busch. Miserable seasons for these two. It was a miserable start to the day. They both had to go to the rear due to unapproved adjustments. Kyle Busch almost didn't start the race. They had an oil line issue, had to replace that, had to take the whole underwing off. They had crew members from 2 or 3 different Chevy teams scrambling in the garage to get that 8 car onto the grid just minutes before engines were fired. And then once the race went green, it didn't get much better. Busch and LaJoie racing mid-pack towards the end. LaJoie makes a move to the inside on a restart. Busch with an aggressive block, little bit of contact, but then as they head into turn 1, LaJoie just hits Busch in the left rear, spins him, collects several other cars. LaJoie's crew chief said that's what he deserves. I think LaJoie, without seeing the replay, thought that Busch had made a block that led to the crash. After the fact, LaJoie, a little more apologetic, said he feels bad that other cars were tore up, still believes that Kyle Busch getting on the chip, entering turn 1, stalled his momentum. He wasn't accepting, let me put it this way, LaJoie wouldn't accept full blame for the crash, but it certainly didn't look good on TV. I'll start with you on this one, Danny. What did you make of this incident, and do you think that they should have a conversation this week before Indianapolis?
Definitely need some clarification, because I didn't know it was okay to turn right into someone and spin them to where they're going to come wrecking the entire field and take out more cars. I didn't know that was okay these days.
So you think it should have been a penalty? You think NASCAR should step in?
Yeah, I said it on Twitter the day it happened. Like they should have definitely investigated. There wasn't much to investigate. It was pretty clear. He turned right into Kyle Busch.
Ooh, okay. Well, I have a take.
I guess if you have a NASCAR sanctioned podcast, you can
Ooh, all right. We are, how many minutes in are we? We are 9 minutes into the show. All right. Jared.
Sorry, not trying to get too
that's okay.
Mind, but that's kind of how I see it.
This is going to be spicy, but I want to hear you go first, Jared. Do you think that Corey LaJoie should have been penalized?
Based on precedent, no. But I think we need a little more context here. It was Corey LaJoie, I believe, in 2023 who admitted on a NASCAR sanctioned podcast that he was trying to intentionally wreck Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch since then has said that LaJoie races him differently, races him harder, different stuff like that. And then the way that the team was over the radio too about it, and the fact that LaJoie didn't really apologize until, well, I won't even say apologize, didn't really concede anything until like later in the week. Based on the precedent, he didn't say that he purposely wrecked him. He didn't, and none of that. So you can't really prove it, and you could say it's a hard racing deal. But I'm gonna be honest, I think he did purposely do it. I really do. I think this is shades of Dale Jr., Brian Vickers 09 500 for me. I think that, give me my tinfoil hat and all of that. I'm obviously I've been a lifelong Kyle Busch defender. There's too many coincidences over the last couple of years leading up to this, and then this happening. Like, people can rip on LaJoie all they want. I've seen people say he's the worst driver in NASCAR. I very much disagree with that. I think he's good enough to know whether or not he'll intentionally wreck somebody or not and pull in behind a car. There really wasn't much momentum change I think Kyle Busch had compared to anyone else around him. I feel like it's pretty cut and dry, but because he didn't say anything and basically just remained silent, played it smart for the most part, and basically, I think it was an accident, he shouldn't be penalized based on that precedent. But I do think NASCAR should answer for why Bubba Wallace getting into the side of Alex Bowman going 25 miles per hour is more egregious than crashing somebody at 180 into the pack at Pocono into one.
So yeah, I didn't get a chance to even come on here last week about the Bowman situation.
I just set that one up on a tee.
I mean, when even Alex says that Bubba shouldn't have been penalized, that's what really threw me off, that I was so shocked that he got that much. I mean, yeah, I think he was rightfully deserving of it, but I was kind of shocked that even when the driver said he shouldn't, that they still did it. And in this case, when literally almost everybody in the industry is saying this man should be penalized, he's not even given a fine. That's a little sus right there.
There's a whole lot here. Okay, this is going to be interesting. So I agree with the basic premise that what LaJoie did to Kyle Busch, that wreck was far more dangerous than what Hocevar did to Harrison Burton, far more dangerous than Bubba during Alex Bowman at going 20 miles an hour, far more dangerous. But I agree with Jarrett. He makes the right point that precedent says no penalty. So I think NASCAR got the call right. I don't think there's any reason to penalize Corey LaJoie for this. You brought up the history between him and Kyle Busch. That's a fair point. That's a fair excuse. But if we're talking about Kyle Busch, remember a few years ago when he blatantly spun Chase Elliott out at Darlington? Looked really bad. He came out afterwards and said, hey, I just misjudged it. I was trying to slide in behind him, stay real close. That was the 550 package. You got a draft, all that stuff. And he just misjudged it. And it looked really bad. We all agree here that Corey LaJoie is a good dude. He's not the best race car driver. Let's just be honest. He's fine. But did you see, I saw a stat today. It was one of those kind of NBA sort of meme graphics somebody made. It was Corey LaJoie at non-drafting tracks, 0 wins, 0 top 5s, 0 top 10s in 222 starts. I couldn't believe that stat was real. So with all due respect to Corey, I think he's a fine driver. He's not a great driver. And we've seen him make a lot of mistakes this year. I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that he did just misjudge his entry into the turn. Kyle Busch did hit the chip. Did he really stall out much? No, not visibly. It was hard to tell much of a difference, but that did happen. So I think if NASCAR is going to hand down a penalty, they have to know without a shadow of a doubt that it was on purpose. And I don't think you can prove it was on purpose. The crew chief radio afterwards was ugly, but the crew chief's not driving the car. So I don't think there should have been a penalty, but it was. I also don't think Bubba should have got nearly as severe of a penalty as he did.
The difference between the Kyle Busch incident in 2020 and this is Kyle Busch, even on the radio, immediately was like, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. And Kyle Busch is not if he means to do it on purpose, he's going to smirk at you and not admit it. Corey LaJoie didn't say jack squat until a couple days later when you can fully take in the entire backlash of it. I get that, Corey LaJoie might not be the greatest driver. He's probably one of the bottom 10 guys in the Cup Series. As much as it sucks to say, because I do like him as a guy. Like, as a dude, if it's just dudes being dudes, Corey LaJoie is somebody I want to hang out with.
Yeah.
But at the same
race car driver.
But at the same time, he's still in the Cup Series. He's a really good race car driver to be in the Cup Series. I don't see I see if he did that on accident, him saying something, doing something, or whatnot. I can't. It's hard for me to rationalize him not doing it on purpose after all the history between the two leading up to it. Whereas like Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch had run-ins every now and then, but like there was no reason at any point for Kyle Busch to do that, and it made sense. Like this just doesn't make sense to me.
I get it. I think there's enough vagueness to it that you could argue it was just an aggressive mistake. And I see we have 73% of our chat says that LaJoie should have been penalized. I would just caution you guys, are we going to become like other motorsports where any sort of aggressive incidental contact that results in a big crash is now going to be penalized middle of the week?
Might be a result.
That's a slippery slope, I would fear. Maybe that's the correct route to go. I don't know, but I would be hesitant. That's all I'm saying.
It's a conversation people are having, and I'll go down that road a little bit in the sense that like NASCAR, I think the difference between what fans want to penalize and what NASCAR penalizes intent, fans penalize result. And
that's a good way to put it.
The result of what happened is half a dozen race cars got wrecked in arguably the most dangerous turn in all of NASCAR. And Corey LaJoie got off scot-free, and I think got probably his best finish of the year, one of his best finishes of the year. I saw somebody on Twitter, I don't remember who it was, so I apologize. If you're in the chat, let me know. But what they put is like, Corey LaJoie didn't mean it. Attempted murder, still a crime. Like,
there's such thing as manslaughter or whatever, however it's phrased.
Still a crime. Still a crime. So it's like,
well, maybe, yeah. So maybe they do update it. Maybe comes a point where we need to update, and there is
even just keeping them on pit road a lap or go like I am honestly, because it'll make drivers think about whether or not to exact revenge unless they really want to. And they, the end of the race, maybe go the short track route. And it's like, you caused a wreck, go to the back of the pack. Like, we're not going to park you a lap, go to the back of the pack. You're going to have to make your way up. Like, if you do something stupid, you get the stupid penalty. If you do something intentionally, you'll get the intentional penalty. Like, I think that could be something. I know a lot of people are going to be against it because that is a slippery slope.
Yeah, well, then the rattle his cage moment now suddenly doesn't become a thing. Like, there are unintended consequences. What you're saying makes logical sense to me, but I could just see, things we've considered iconic in NASCAR's history now wouldn't be allowed, and that's going to be... fans in the here and now think, oh, that's no big deal. But when it happens, the first time a driver gets penalized for a run gone wrong, everyone's going to be upset. So that's all I'm saying. It's a little tough. It's tricky.
A lot of short tracks all over the country have been doing this for decades and not really had a problem and have been able to decipher the two well. But I do understand also people saying like, it's NASCAR, like they're going to convolute it.
Yeah, well, that's why I just want NASCAR to truly let the drivers self-police, which is why I don't think Bubba should have been given a $50,000 penalty for what he did to Alex Bowman. I feel like that was definitely too steep, in my opinion. Other people may disagree. But thank you all, chat, for chiming in on that one. Danny, you'll love this next topic, but Alex Bowman with a solid third-place effort to back up his win at Chicago. I mean... I don't know. What do you make your point?
I thought for a second he was actually starting to chase down Blaney there. So he did fall off there though towards the end. But hey, props to him for being able to hang in there and not drop to the back. Overall, it looked like their team just kept making improvements as the day went on, and really starting to look like they're back to being a legitimate Hendrick car again.
Yeah, I think all of Hendrick Motorsports has gotten a little better maybe the last couple weeks. Like Bowman, obviously, with the win at Chicago, top 5 here. Chase Elliott, where did he end up? I think 9th on Sunday, but he had a top 5, if not top 2 car, but a speeding penalty, a very rare Chase Elliott speeding penalty derailed his day and Kyle Larson's day. So that's what I mean. We could have had a Hendrick top 3, Hendrick all in the top 5 if Elliott and Larson don't make those mistakes. So that's got to be exciting for Bowman fans to see him up there in the mix. Byron has looked a little more consistent the past few weeks. 4th on Sunday. Before we look at the playoff picture and talk about some bubble drivers, I do want to veer off topic a bit. Jared, I saw you upload a video on this earlier today. I haven't had the chance to watch it just yet, but another sellout for Pocono Raceway. Ever since they went back to one race a year, I feel that the atmosphere around this event has been tremendous. I feel like fans now view Pocono in much higher regard. It was tough when we used to go to Pocono twice in like a 10-week span. It was just too much Pocono, too many triangles, too much geometry. Now Pocono feels like a destination race, and we saw a second consecutive total sellout of the facility. With that good news came the struggles of traffic and logistical problems. The track later put out a statement saying that the rain in the morning forced people to take shelter, messed with their planning. They did make somewhat of a vague promise to make it right for people who had issues parking, getting to the track, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure how that's being worked out as of now. But Jarrett, what was your reaction to seeing some of the posts on Twitter from folks who were having issues with traffic delays?
I felt bad for him. I mean,
yeah.
There's no other way around that. That's the easy answer. Right? Like, there were some that were in the NASCAR media rings who kind of took pot shots at the fans, and I did not appreciate that. I felt bad for fans because there was problems at 8 and 9, 10 in the morning for a race that started at 2:30 Eastern time.
I think so, yeah.
And like, if you're leaving like 45 minutes for the race and you have like a 30-minute drive, like if you're expecting to see the start of the race, you're wrong.
That's on you.
Like that's on you. If you're leaving like to get there 6 hours early and you barely catch the start, that is inexcusable. And I think that what this is something that's been seen at a lot of tracks since fans got let back post-COVID, where these facilities and NASCAR in turn, or SMI or whoever, a lot of them just are not built for these full capacity crowds, or not ready for them at least. I mean, and this is something we've seen for a while. I get in 2021, right after restrictions were all lifted and you could have full capacity and all that again. Like, I'll get, these different tracks like the 600 or like Nashville or whatever, having a few issues. But we've seen it continue on now for almost half a decade. I mean, I remember going to Richmond later on in 2021, and if I didn't have my phone with the broadcast on, I would have missed all of stage 2. And that's not a short stage. There's other tracks, for instance, like the SMI tracks, who will they continuously and routinely run out of water. We saw the Nashville parking problems. We see the parking problems at Pocono, and I think it's that they're not prepared, and I think it's that they're not hiring on enough people to actually do that, like to have these events. And if you're gonna have 100,000 seat facilities, or like Pocono, which I think matched last year, which was like the highest crowd since 2008, hire enough people to be on there. You can't skeleton crew this whole thing through. And I mean, it's the same everywhere. I mean, I remember at Talladega when we were there in 2022, Eric, you were in the infield. I came back up to go in the stands. And when we went to like open our bags, the security's like, "You're good, just go through." It's like, if people aren't, that was cool for me, but if people aren't doing their jobs, or there's not enough people to do that job, like the only people that lose are the fans. Like, NASCAR doesn't lose; they get the TV money. Same with the tracks. Teams don't lose; they're not on the front lines. The media people who are making pot shot jokes at them on Twitter, they don't lose. They're going to cover the race with their credentials. It is only the fans who lose in this situation.
And I saw a guy, known him for a long time, Eric Webler. He's been going to races at Pocono for a long time. I don't know if y'all remember this. A few years back, he was a guy that I think he reached out to the track, said he was wanting to do a lot of walking and stuff, and he actually got like a big walk organized, and Dale Jr. went and walked to him. So this guy's been going to Pocono for a long time. So for him to say, he was saying on Twitter, I've never seen this bad, and I have to take his word for it because he's been going there a long time.
Yeah, it was disappointing to see. Like you said, Jared, you definitely feel bad. Especially if you leave more than an hour and a half before the race starts, you should get there in time to see the start in most cases, unless you live 2 hours away, in a completely different city, I guess. But
I don't lie, but just read Peter's comment.
To your point, Jared, it's hard to tell in this case, did Pocono just cheap out and not hire enough workers, enough security, enough attendance? Or was the weather, like some people were saying the parking lots were like, some of them were unusable because of the rain. I don't know if that's true. So maybe this was just an unfortunate circumstance, but to your point, by and large, I think we've seen these tracks, and Denny Hamlin has complained about this before, and I think he's often right. These tracks have cheaped out in a number of different ways over the years. They've raked in the most TV money from a percentage standpoint, and arguably, in most cases, Phoenix, Daytona being the exceptions, Talladega being the exceptions, have refused to invest a lot of that money back into the fan experience. So Pocono is independently owned. They're not owned by NASCAR or SMI, so I don't know what their budget looks like. But for sure, they need to be better prepared for something like this.
I don't know, I'm trying to scroll and see who said it. I think it was, Gerald Griffin in the chat. And I agree with him. Kansas Speedway, I don't know what they do differently. And I've sung Kansas's praises on and off the track for a while now, but he's right. I mean, I'll no matter where I park in there, whether we get passes right at the front row to just pull on out, or if it's just normal parking passes and we have to go out with the rest of them. I mean, you're in and out of the track pretty darn quick. It's going to be difficult getting in and out just because it is a packed facility on a race day. But then you compare that to like Talladega. Like I'm not even going to keep dunking fully on SMI here. Talladega in 2021, when I went back on Monday to see that race, there were like the parking lot I was supposed to be in, I was not allowed to go in because it was just a swamp. And I get that these tracks, a lot of them are in the middle of nowhere. I can understand a lot of them with like the light arguments, like, our grid can't support that. I get that. America's power system ain't the greatest in a lot of the areas of the country NASCAR's in. But the fact that like parking lots are getting completely washed out, even if it's a lot of rain by something that happens over an hour or two or even a day, it's like, that especially now is inexcusable. Like if you want to be a modern sport and a modern facility and all this modernization talk, then put your money where your mouth is. Tracks, NASCAR, whoever has to do it. I would be so fine if they're able to pave over a lot of these parking lots. It probably would be a lot cheaper long term on the upkeep. Like as long as you just seal it up, every now and then. I could be completely wrong on that, but it'd be easier for the fans as well. Just be probably hot as hell in the summer.
Yeah. It's tough. It's on the plus side. I'll sing my home track some praises. My fiance's family went to their first race earlier this year at Texas Motor Speedway, and I remember in the past sitting through some awful traffic jams. They had a decent crowd this year. I was worried that the traffic leaving the track afterwards would scare them away for good. They said it went really smoothly. So shout out to Fort Worth and Texas Motor Speedway for their traffic handling in April. So it's not every track and it's not every weekend, which is why when things like this do happen, it should be called out because you can't let this become the norm. It sets some tracks apart from others. But we can kind of move on from that. Let's talk about the playoffs here before we get into the Xfinity and Truck Series races. Ross Chastain, DNF'd. He spun out, hit the wall in turn 3, seemed confused as to how that happened. We'll look at the points in a second. That puts him in a tough spot. And Ty Gibbs won the pole, led the first 15 or 20 laps, but blew a motor. That's at least the third Toyota engine failure on the Cup side in the last month or so. I can think of at least one or two Xfinity issues, like Chicago. I remember I was standing right there and Chandler Smith brought his car in with some sort of mechanical issue. He DNF'd there. So something to watch with Toyota. If we look at the playoff cut line, Ty Gibbs now is 67 points to the good in 14th. 15th is Chris Buescher, who is 44 points above the cut line. Ross Chastain is now 16th, only 27 points ahead of Bubba Wallace, who rallied to finish 10th at Pocono. Gentlemen, I'll start with you, Jarrett. How worried are you about Ross Chastain? Could we see one of the Trackhouse cars miss the playoffs? The one that nobody was expecting to see miss the playoffs. How stressed should Ross be?
I mean, if you're on that cut line, if you're 16th, you have to be stressed no matter what because of the big problem of a new winner. And we have Indianapolis, which a lot of people, even Kyle Larson, are saying is a mystery because they're not really allowed much practice with it. After that, you got Richmond, which now is a bit of a mystery that you have 2 tire compounds, and depending on how they test that out, Daytona, Darlington, and Michigan's an interesting one when it comes to the 2311 front. So I'd be really worried. I would say I think Ross Chastain is a better driver than Bubba Wallace. I think that's a better overall team than the 23 team with the one. But if they can't get out of their own ways, whether it's stuff that they can't control or getting involved in accidents or whatnot. No matter where they're at in points, you're not 16th on the cut line unless it's a really odd year like that year that Truex and Blaney were fighting for that spot, or B, you're still in that bottom half, the top 10, 12th, 13th range in the full-on points. I would say if it's off performance, I think Ross would be fine. It's just the issue of a new winner for me. That's the biggest fear I have, because I think Gibbs is much better than only plus 67. I think Buescher is much better than plus 44. So I think both of them are better than the one team at this point, and not just because they're higher in points. I think they've been overall faster this year than that team. So I'd be worried. I'd be worried for multiple reasons if I'm Ross.
Yeah, I look at Bubba, and I know the results have been up and down lately, but he was running top 10 at New Hampshire when he got crashed late, and he was running top 10 at Chicago when Bowman got into him, and he still rallied to finish top 15 there. So, Danny, what do you think? Do you think Bubba Wallace has a good shot at potentially pointing his way in over Chastain, or does everyone need to be thinking must win?
No, I definitely think don't be secure at all, because I'm looking at the schedule. We've got Indy this weekend, then we go on the Olympic break, and then we come back. There's Richmond, short track. You never know what could happen there. Michigan is always a fun one, but you got Daytona. Anything can happen there at Daytona. So, I mean, I'm looking at some guys who are kind of below the playoff line here. If a Michael McDowell wins Daytona again, if a Josh Berry gets a win, if Noah Gregson's a good super speedway racer, if Carson Hocevar wins or something like that, that changes everything.
And don't forget about Eric Jones at Darlington, which is now the regular season finale this season. You just never know. You really don't know.
And looking at it too, points per race that have to be either made up or given up. Bubba would only have to make up 5 or 6 points depending on where they're at a race on Ross, because they cut that gap in half with the top 10, even without stage points. Buescher would have to give up about 9 a race. Gibbs would have to give up 14, and Truex would have to give up 28 points a race if it stays the same as it is now. I think the interesting part to look at, too, is just if the cut line gets moved up one position, that's 17 points between Buescher and Chastain and 40 between Chastain and Ty Gibbs. And at that point, then I think it's becoming a free-for-all, because any of them could pop off and have a win or a really great run.
Yeah, I'm just surprised the cut line that gap got so much narrower after just one race. I mean, again, Bubba was top 10, and you had DNFs from Chastain and Ty Gibbs. I guess that'll do it. So you got to avoid those catastrophic days if you're hoping to make the playoffs this year. But imagine if Suarez is the lone Trackhouse representative in the final 10 race playoffs. I don't think anyone would have seen that coming, but a long way to go still. Let's get to some numbers. The famous iceberg poll is coming up, but first off, the ratings for Pocono, the latest numbers we have, 2.391 million viewers tuned into USA Network Sunday afternoon. That's down significantly. This is probably the biggest year-over-year decrease that wasn't impacted by weather. 15% down from last year. It's the lowest viewed Pocono race from what we could find since 2019. I did see that there were other major sporting events that were also down double-digit percentages on the same day. Obviously, a lot of media coverage regarding other major national incidents. So not sure if there's a valid excuse we can make, but certainly disappointing to see the Pocono ratings down fairly significantly year over year. Luckily, that hasn't been the common trend, but it was in this case. But with that being said, let's hear what you guys had to say about this race with the famous iceberg poll. Jarrett will pull up the comments, but I can give you guys the numbers. 12,000 people voted on Jarrett's poll. 8% said Pocono was a great race. 57% said it was good. 28% said it was average, 4% below average, and only 3% thought this was a bad race. That's a 65% net positivity, if my math is correct, and a 7%
people were in favor of it.
Danny with the hard numbers, and a 7% net negativity. So fans at least liked what they saw. Those who tuned in for the most part liked what they saw. Jarrett, what were some of the most notable comments?
The first comment's from Jedi Master Isaac 24. So positive, negative, meme, or a mix.
Positive.
Meme.
He says, to quote Ellie Productions 49, only this time about LaJoie, quote, I really don't know what this team sees in him.
Oof.
That's like a negative meme.
Lost in our previous LaJoie discussion is that he will have Rodney Childers atop the pit box next year. So, I feel like every year we talk about how this is LaJoie's best opportunity. Next year will be his best opportunity to show us something.
This might sound hot takey here, but I think if he doesn't finish top 20 in points next year, he should be fired.
I think he will be. I'll bet if he's not top 20 or at least top 23 in points next year, I think he'll be done. I don't know what his contract looks like, but I would not be shocked.
I'm sorry, but like having Rodney Childers paired up with Corey LaJoie is like Nick Saban having retired and he's taking a assistant coaching job at like Coast Community College or something.
Because his son is on the team or something like that. Yeah.
To me, I just, if he doesn't perform, I see no reason. I mean, think of the 2025 into 2026 free agents. John Hunter Nemechek, Eric Jones, Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch. That would be interesting.
Ooh,
if Kyle
Busch pairing in 2026. Ooh.
Young guys like Jesse Love, Carson Kvapil, maybe Connor Zilic.
I mean, we like Corey. Man, it feels like we're really down on Corey. Everyone has been down on Corey this week, and some of it is deserved. But
he's the new Matty D.
I seen that comparison. I think that's fair.
That's very fair.
And LaJoie's been given a lot longer leash, I would argue, than Matty D did. Matty had basically 2 years in competitive Cup equipment and even made the playoffs once, and that wasn't good enough.
He got results, actually.
He got some results. He was decent. I won't say he was great. He was okay. LaJoie has been okay to disappointing the last couple of years in Spire equipment. So I think you're right, Jared. Next year is sort of you got to set a new benchmark or you're out.
I swear we're not doing the whole thing to rip on LaJoie, but that's the top comment here too. Rowdy 18, I wonder who he roots for, said LaJoie is an embarrassment and that radio communication was damning.
Ooh, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if the crew chief gets called to the hauler pre-race at Indy.
Bruh, I'm a pigeon. Says crazy how long having a podcast can keep you in a cup car.
Where's our cup car?
Good question. Paladin says this has got to be Kyle Busch fans' 18th reason why.
Damn.
Yeah, it's been really, really bad. Let's see. I'm trying to find ones that aren't about Corey LaJoie.
Oh man, that's brutal. That's tough.
N5 SC4. I think it's just NASCAR with a 54. Says as a
fan, probably.
Yeah, as a fan of Ty Gibbs and Kyle Busch, this has truly been the season from hell.
Wow, a Ty Gibbs and Kyle Busch fan. I didn't know they existed.
I feel like if Busch would have stayed at Gibbs, it would just been a passing of the baton of most hated driver. Let's see. Choose 3373 says, was rooting for Chase Elliott. If we didn't have that penalty for speeding, I think we would have been a contender for the win. I think Elliott had the best car.
Easily a contender. I mean, he would have restarted third with probably a better car than first and second. It just, could he have passed? I don't know.
Another one. Who's the bigger weapon, Corey LaJoie or Carson Hocevar? It's a Spire problem.
Oh yeah. Oof.
Let's see. Fun fact from Blaney Best. Ryan Blaney has never won in the same paint scheme in the Cup Series. He's also the at the moment, only Cup driver ever to have 12 wins. The next highest has 13. The next lowest ones have 10.
Has he really never won twice in this, like, a same paint scheme? I mean, I know the Menard schemes always have something a little different on the hood. Are they counting that? Wait, what does he want? Now I'm going to Google Ryan Blaney wins. Go to Google Images.
NASCAR actually has if you just look up all of Ryan Blaney wins, NASCAR has a full collection of them all.
Oh, there we go. That's crazy.
Sick Freak says traffic was held up by rain. What more will it take for Jarrett to read the NASCAR romance novel? Weather looks good this weekend.
Oh,
so he's won in a few body armors and a few Menards, but I guess there's always a little slight. He's actually won a lot of body armor actually, but there's always a slight detail that's different.
God, the Dent Wizard car, yeah, that's
Well,
always just a little different.
now hold on. At the Talladega 23, he won in the Penske game, and yes, it's the next gen versus the Gen 6, but that's pretty much the same scheme as the one he won that Roval race in. That's pretty much the same.
I like how we're doing
Similar.
a live inspection.
It's pretty similar, but that is crazy though that he has won in so many different schemes. Because when I picture Blaney, I only picture like 3 major sponsors. I picture like Advance Auto Parts, Menards, and like Body Armor, I guess. And so I guess Body Armor does have a lot of different schemes.
Mike Roush says, "Did Kyle Busch steal LaJoy's kickball or something?"
Dang.
Let's go to the gutter. By the way, we had 330 comments. So,
wow.
Let's see.
Probably 300 of them are about LaJoy.
Probably, honestly. Let's see. I think I can read all of these.
Hit us.
All right. First one from Thomas Snyder says, "Bad as in I couldn't watch it on free TV. We used to watch all the races, but not anymore. The stands used to be full, but not anymore." Okay, I could tell you didn't. I can tell you didn't.
This is how you know you accidentally get on someone's community tab.
NASCAR's greed is pushing away more fans. Too bad. And let's see they had one comment saying it was literally a sellout today. And it was at like 90s 2000s level. Pocono is one of those few tracks outside of the banners who has not taken out any seats.
Yeah.
The Sloth Nerd has an edited comment, so I don't know that I don't know how much I trust this one, but we can read it. "The poll seems to trend towards good, and to those who voted it good, you're wrong. This was a boring, forgettable race. Happy a Ford won, but otherwise, boring race." I think it was like a 5 out of 10. It was like mediocre. It was okay.
Yeah, I think I voted either average or good.
I think the last 2 years were better.
Yeah, I would agree.
And then Twister here, he was leaving the same comment hating on Pocono in my chat. I'm like, dude, like think of a new one. He didn't for the lowest voted comment saying, "This track sucks. It's probably worse than Texas and Phoenix."
That sounds like a comment from like 2012.
But that is the poll. There we go. We can move on from
the famous, or at some point, should we call it the infamous iceberg poll? Because we spend a lot of time on the gutter comments, and those can be funny. Something. They are funny. They are often quite amusing. They put a smile on my face. Chat checking in. Holy Mike, we are at 430 likes. I'm actually shocked. We are only about 200 likes away from our like goal. I thought that 650 was steep.
I don't even have to gaslight this week. Good job, guys.
I mean, we're a third of the way through the show, maybe, and we are already well past halfway. Keep it coming, though. Don't slow down because you never know. Got to keep this momentum. Take the runs when we got them. But if we get to 650 likes, again, if you're new here, that unlocks Jarrett's random, where's he at? Jarrett's over here. Jarrett's random driver of the week segment. He often stumps us, but recently we've been on a hot streak. So if you guys want to play along with that segment, we got to get to 650. And luckily we are well on our way. Before we get to our first super chat stage break, let's talk about the Xfinity Series race first. We're going in reverse weekend order. Big win for Cole Custer and Ford. Ford had a good weekend overall, but this was Ford's first Xfinity Series win of the season. Also the first win for the defending series champion, Cole Custer. He bested Justin Allgaier towards the end, some late race strategy. Let's just start there. Jarrett, Cole Custer gets the win. He's certainly been on the tip of everyone's tongue, potentially returning to the Cup Series next year. What does this say about the Custard man?
Well, I think it's a long time coming. I mean, he's been up. He's been one of those guys up there in talks when it comes to running for the win, running up front. But it always seems like there's somebody, whether it's like Justin Allgaier or a Cup guy coming down or someone like that. Just there's always somebody better. And he's been leading the points. He's now leading the points by 51 over Allgaier.
He's got 3 more top 10s than anyone else, tied for the most top 5s.
I think that he's a driver too, at least in the Xfinity Series, who's always kind of getting better as the year goes. Started out slow and then just sort of got better and better. So I'm thinking too, with how similar Pocono and Indianapolis are, is like he could be a threat to go back to back this week. And if he can start piling on those playoff points too, I mean, it's hard to argue. I'd say anybody in the Xfinity series right now is a consistent enough driver to be a favorite over him. Like I don't like. I guess, Sam Mayer pops off and gets wins, but then he also, finishes outside the top 10, causes crashes, gets in crashes.
Takes out SVG. We'll talk about that in a minute.
SVG gets those road course wins, but it's the only place he's probably going to win.
Austin Hill could be a contender if he wasn't Austin Hill and getting in everyone's way.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Hill gets in his own way by doing that. Justin Allgaier seems to find ways to grasp defeat from the jaws of victory.
Take the mask off. Denny Hamlin, what are you doing?
It's Xfinity Denny. So
oh man,
right now I think he needs to just keep getting these wins. I'd say he's the favorite at this point, and this is just further proof.
I think you're probably right. He's the most reliable top 5 threat every single week. Although I do like Allgaier. I just looked it up to confirm he has double the stage wins of anyone else in Xfinity this year. Like that's got to be worth something. But also Allgaier, if we're talking about the championship 4, isn't he like 0 for 5 or 0 for 6? Oof. Like he's been there plenty of times, but has never gotten the job done. So yeah, I think you're right. I think the regular season standings for Xfinity kind of tell the whole story. Custer, Allgaier, Chandler. Those are the 3 best. Those are the best Ford, the best Chevy, the best Toyota consistently this year. But some other interesting contenders not too far behind. Speaking of not too far behind the lead, late in this race, just inside the top 10, Chandler Smith got into the back. No, I'm sorry, not Chandler Smith. My bad. Sam Mayer got into the back of Shane Van Gisbergen. There's conflict after the race. Chandler Smith was involved in some of that. Danny, what'd you make of what happened there?
Mainly in the incident in the back.
Well, I mean, it was pretty obvious that Sam Mayer just spun SVG. I didn't hear his explanation, but it looked to me he just made a mistake.
I didn't catch his explanation either. Sadly, we were actually, I guess we were driving on the day of this race. We were on our way to the Atlanta Braves game, but for the first part of our little trip we were on. But wait, no. I'm already.
That would have been a week earlier.
No, I've lost.
Danny, he's jet lagged.
Well,
I guess that was the day that we were like, no, we were driving back. That's what we were doing. So that's why I put race. So
I think for Sam Mayer, at least, I'd say that he questions why he's not in the conversation for a cup ride, and people can point to numerous incidents where he just steps on his own foot, gets into something like that. I know a lot of people are going to hate on him because SVG is a really popular guy and all of that, and I understand that part. But I mean, those are just moves you got to fix. And people said the same thing about Ty Gibbs. People said the same thing. Yeah. I think the one I think of with him, in a lot of ways, was Brad Keselowski back in his Xfinity days. Like he would have those kind of incidents where he'd just get in his own way. Super talented driver, just steps on his foot, just does dumb things. And that's another dumb thing. I don't think he meant to do it, just because he immediately was apologizing, and I did hear remorse from him. But man, it gets hard to do. Like, if I'm not a fan of any driver. I like Sam. I think he's a good dude. But for Sam Mayer fans, it's got to be hard defending him at this point when he does these things so often and gets crashed so often from his own actions.
When he's really good, he is great.
Oh, he's lights out.
Yeah. But then there are some weeks where it's like, what you doing, man?
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. He's all or nothing, which is why he's 10th in points. And it sounds like he has been and maybe will get some Cup Series consideration, but it's why I said on my show last week that he needs another year. I need a larger sample size. He's won a lot of races in the past 12 months, but he still occasionally makes these mistakes, very up and down, very hit or miss. I need to see him win races and avoid some of these mistakes over a longer stretch of time before I'm ready to hand him a key Cup Series ride, like a top tier seat. He just turned 21. We compared him to Ty Gibbs a lot, and they did come up through the ranks similarly, but he's like a full year almost younger than Ty Gibbs. Like there is, let's not rush Sam Mayer through. clearly mistakes like these show he's still got some more development before he's ready for the next step. But the talent is there. Congrats again to Cole Custer on the win. Let's talk about the truck race real quick before we get to our first Super Chat stage break. Corey Heim wins, and time for our Super Chat stage break.
That's not exaggerating. Like nothing happened. Nothing really happened.
There's a few things.
I've never had a pick like in a while where I just like made that pick and I'm like, yeah, I already had that one locked up. That was just like.
Not Spencer in the chat's like, we should keep on trucking. Right on through to the next segment.
Wait for Mikey. Where'd Daniel Dye finish?
Daniel Dye's run pretty well a couple weeks in a row, right?
He's having a good day here.
I am so loathing, not for Daniel's sake. I hope he does great, but because of Michael Waltrip, I am loathing the day that Daniel Dye gets a win. Like
someone said, is Daniel Dye really in the playoffs now? Let me see. Was it 10th? I think so. He's 10th in points. He is 1 point ahead of Tanner Gray.
Yeah.
Truck Series seem I don't know why it just seems like it's a weird batch of who is there consistently. It's full time. It feels like.
It's just, the Truck Series in general is just so weird. Like we can argue Cup and even Xfinity all day long with it, but like. Truck play, I was like, do they really need a playoffs when we're like separating the races by months at a time?
Yeah,
like
it's weird.
We're gonna have our race at IRP, and then we'll have the 2-week break until Richmond, and then a month until Milwaukee,
and then Bristol after that.
Yeah, because they don't go to Atlanta, the Glen.
And we just had nearly a month off before Nashville.
Yeah,
I think before Nashville.
I pulled the schedule up. It's Richmond, Milwaukee, then Bristol.
What's after that? Is it Talladega or Kansas?
Kansas, then Talladega, then Homestead, Martinsville, Phoenix.
Oh, that's right. They have Martinsville this year. I don't know why.
Oh my gosh, we got 2 races till the playoffs start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why this 1 point gap between Daniel Dye and Tanner Gray. That's a story. And Stuart Friesen's in the mix. I mean, it's going to be interesting. But as Dirty Def in the chat points out, Corey Heim and Christian Eckes are the class of the field almost every week. I mean, it's 5 wins now for Heim. He's the youngest driver I saw, I think, to get to 10 career Truck Series wins, if I'm not mistaken. And Christian Eckes, a couple of years older than Heim, has really come into his own this year. We've seen him be good in years past, but this is the year Eckes looks like a legit championship threat. He's got 3 wins. So
I just got to ask, as good as Eckes has been, he's had some glimpses this season, but man, when is Tyler Ankrum going to win again? He got like 1 win way back in what was it, 18 or 19 or something?
Yeah, was it like Kentucky or something? Where did he win?
Kentucky. I think it's actually 2020. It was during COVID. I think he won.
It was a while ago. That's right. What truck was he in back then?
He was in the 17 for DGR.
Oh yeah.
He is good enough to get wins. He just can't get them.
It's not going to matter if the rumors are true that Eckes and Heim might run it back another year. Like that is a legitimate thing that might happen. And
I mean, truth be told, would you blame him? I mean, right now there's nothing good enough open up for him to move up right now. So what's the rush?
Yeah. If Heim's not going to get that 2311 seat, which we'll talk about later, and I mean, maybe Eckes could be a candidate at front row, but if that doesn't work out, I don't think there's another realistic option out there. I mean,
front row in the Truck Series. I mean,
yeah, well, do you want to drive that truck? Where's Lane Riggs right now?
Yeah, but look what Zane Smith did with that truck for the 3 years before. Like, I think it's a driver versus.
It can't be the same truck. Didn't Chris Lawson? He's in Cup now, right? With like Hocevar or somebody. That was the crew chief for most of those Zane years. So I don't know what's going on. That can't be the same 38 team. They're 17th in points.
Key partner Ford team now coming in the next.
Maybe there's just. They don't have the resources, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that resources have all gone to Cup. I don't know.
I'm just like, because we're going to be, for people who are on Twitter might not have seen it, we're putting the picks each day before the race now on Twitter. And I just can't wait until all I have to do next year is make sure I have an 11 and a 19 ready to go for 2 of the 4 or 5 picks, depending on if we have guests, that will always be Eckes or Heim every single week.
Yeah,
I like this comment from Alan Mooch. Ben Rhodes has been non-existent all season. This is a 2-time truck champion, folks. Both titles handed to him by the format that NASCAR implemented. And I'm looking at it, it's like, yeah, he's 9th. He's going to probably barely, get in. He's the kind of guy that he could somehow go out there and still win another championship.
He has a legitimate championship hangover.
But let's not don't count out Ben Rhodes. He
He
was
had a
not
couple of
a
those, Jarrett.
he was a non-factor at Phoenix last year until trucks went trucks. So,
Full
oh,
truck.
and my mistake. Jarrett in the chat, not you, Jarrett. Jarrett in the chat says that Chris Lawson is with Justin Haley at Rick Ware. My mistake. I think I said Hocevar. No, yeah, that's right. He's with Justin Haley, and Justin Haley's had a pretty darn good year, all things considered. So, with that being said, we are nearing the halfway point of the show. We are over 500 likes. Less than 150 to go. Keep it up, chat. Really appreciate it. Let's do our first super chat stage break here. First up, from the outside line, with Indy having awnings on the front stretch, is it a crazy idea to have awnings for shade on every track to keep people safe in the heat? I do feel like that would be pleasant. Is there National Fairgrounds has a nice awning. Is there like an acoustic reason they don't do that? Maybe for like the spotters, they need a place for the spotters to stand.
I mean, it also might in part be just because, especially when the sport had that boom period, it looks really damn good on TV to have 150,000 people on camera.
That's true. You don't want to hide the crowd from TV. That's a good point. That might actually be why they didn't do it. Also, money, of course, costs money to build additional structures. Isaac the Jedi, thank you for the 5. Something to keep in mind since Gateway average finish. Chastain 18.4, Bubba 17.4. Stage points, Chastain 7, Bubba 11. This is going to be a close battle. Thanks for the stats, Isaac the Jedi, to back up our playoff argument from earlier. And Bailey with a 5 says, hot take, Tony Stewart is the most talented driver in NASCAR history. He in year one almost won Haas title. Most of that 09 season, Tony led the points. And obviously 2 years ago, he did win a championship. Tony Stewart, you could make an argument. Sure, he's one of maybe the most talented, certainly across multiple disciplines, no doubt. Another one from Bailey also. If Herbst gets the third 2311 car, please promote Heim to Xfinity at least. I mean, in JGR cars. I'm tired of seeing him drive Sam Hunt cars. I don't know if JGR will have room.
It would be nice to let him get in at least a couple starts in that part-time ride, but I get the. I don't know. You shouldn't let personal disinterest get in the way of business. So.
I know people point out, don't get along with Ty Gibbs or whatever. I don't even know the full story there. I've lost track, but. I mean, I remember a couple weeks ago, I was at the racetrack and I saw Noah Gragson and Ty Gibbs, fist bumping. Hey, good job. At least exchanging pleasantries. And I thought they hated each other for a couple of years there. So, fences can be mended. Bridges can be rebuilt. So I hope whatever weird deal might be going on there could be settled. Jared, is everything good back there?
They just keep going.
Yeah, I know.
There's like 4 of them. I don't
usually hear them, but that's the most I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, there's another. Yeah. What the hell happened?
Oh my goodness. Well, back to the super chats. Chris McIntyre, thank you for the 10. Bubba hooks Larson at Vegas, fined and parked. Elliott hooks Hamlet at Charlotte, fined and parked. LaJoy hooks Gibbs at a faster corner at Pocono. I think he meant Busch. LaJoy hooks Busch at a faster corner at Pocono, taking out more cars and nothing. Nice judgment, NASCAR. And again, it's easier. The other 2 incidents were much easier to judge intent. It was much more obviously on purpose. LaJoy, I think it's very arguable, which is why they didn't drop the hammer. Blake, thank you for the 5. We got in NASCAR. What is it? We got in NASCAR themed Hey Dudes at Shoe Carnival today. Also supposed to get Larson and Elliott ones. We can't sell them until August 16th though.
3 minutes.
Nice little teaser there. Awesome. I will do just a couple more real quick here as we near the top of the hour. I was at a store the other day actually and saw the NASCAR Crocs in person. First time seeing those on store shelves. They did not have my size. I am a tall person with very large feet. It's hard for me to go shoe shopping, but otherwise I would have picked those up. A couple more here from CBB. Thank you for the 10. Do y'all think it's possible Kyle Busch retires at the end of this year, especially if he goes winless? As recently as the start of the season, I would have said that's crazy, but dude just seems over it. I would have considered that a few weeks or months ago, but recent comments from Austin Dillon and a few others make me think he's bought in over there and is really focused on trying to rebuild that team next season. If next season goes bad, I could see him jumping ship going elsewhere, but I don't think Kyle's going to retire anytime too soon. What would he do? Can you imagine a retired Kyle Busch, a 40-year-old Kyle Busch, not even like 50, 60, 40-year-old Kyle Busch on a Sunday afternoon without racing? I feel like he'd go crazy.
He'd find other countries to smuggle guns into.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to do Shoot, I'm just going to do these two right here. Fred Dog 81, with Harvick criticizing Ford's development and SHR, do you think his retirement / split from SHR was less happy than led to believe? Like, was he forced out? I don't think he was forced out by any means, but I certainly think he was frustrated that Ford and SHR sucked the last year or two he was there, or weren't as good as usual. Perhaps he's just brutally honest. That's always sort of been Kevin Harvick, even when things are going well. And finally, from Isaac McKissick, just got a new Mazda MX-5 race 15 minutes from me. Yeah, I didn't read the full press release, but they're going to Martinsville this fall.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Very interesting. I got to look into that some more. We got a bunch of other super chats, but we will get to the rest of them at the end of the show. Thank you all so much for the very generous support. Really do appreciate you guys. Always fun to see what y'all in the chat are saying. Now, I need to make sure David's still good. I think David Land will be joining us here before too long. We've actually made really good time, guys. Hopefully he should hopefully be able to drop by in time, at least for the Brickyard 400 preview towards the end of the show. But in the meantime, the show must go on. That means it's time for the lightning round. There's been a change in the weather. Jarrett, what do we got for us?
We got a wild David Land, actually.
Oh, he's right on time. Look at this maniac. Here I was. Well, he wouldn't reply to my text this afternoon. I didn't know if he forgot about me, forgot about us. But that's great timing.
David Land, yo.
Do we have a David? Live and in color, David Land jumping in here. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up? Happy Brickyard Week, everybody. It's back.
Happy Brickyard to you. Oh,
Spam bricks in the chat.
That was fantastic.
We've had brick emojis in the chat all night long. I'm sure that's only going to increase.
I'll be right back. It's funny enough, we're about to do a lightning round. It's actually coming a storm here real quick. I'm going to go check on something real quick. I'll be right back.
There's actually a storm through here?
He's got to take care of his plants. Right, Danny's a gardener. Anyway, David, you were joining us just in time for the lightning round. Then we'll be getting into the second half of the show. But it's good to see you, man. Looking good. Feeling good?
Oh, I'm feeling great. I can't wait. This is it's always exciting when anything's racing on the oval, but certainly with all the anticipation around the Brickyard 400 this year. What's the next gen car going to do at the racetrack? I mean, Kyle Larson returning for the first time since the Indy 500 in the scheme he didn't actually get to drive. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cool things. It's going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be a lot of festivities, a lot of celebration of the 94 race. So I love history, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
So, awesome. David, I have a question for you. If someone does a burnout on the bricks, will you run out on the track after them?
Well, I'd have to clear that with Doug Bowles and say, okay, president of the Speedway, and be like, look, Doug, do you want me to be the I'll go get a cop uniform from
the enforcer.
You'll be the attack dog.
I'll go. Maybe I'll post a video of me barking at someone on the brick. Well, I mean, I would hope. I mean, like, yes, it is a big meme, right? But I think Jimmy Johnson one time, if I remember correctly, when the COT had the splitter, he stuck the splitter into the bricks and then did a burnout and just completely like ripped a whole section of bricks out. So, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing that a NASCAR driver has ever done to the bricks, but
at that point, that had to be on purpose. Like, he had to know what he was doing, right? Like, that's just brutal. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's an article. I think Kurt Cavan wrote it, which talks about all the times that the NASCAR drivers have messed with the bricks. I think he wrote it he probably wrote it around the time that, God, who was that who burned down the bricks that I think it was Allgaier.
Kevin Harvick on his podcast today talked about when he first burned down on the bricks, and he was like, I got a lot of shit for that.
Well, and it's one of those weird things too, because like, I don't really know why it's offensive. Like, but it's just like when it happens, it's just like, it just makes me go, I don't like that.
I get you.
Because the whole racetrack used to be bricks, right? Like, all sorts of degenerate things used to happen on all the bricks, right? But for some reason, this 2 foot section just it's become so sacred, and now we get all triggered when things happen on it. I can't explain it. I don't know why, but there's just something. It doesn't sit right with me. Why?
I wanted to make our guests feel welcome.
Oh God, yeah, that's. Liar.
I didn't expect this. I thought he was going to check on his plants. I didn't know.
Oh, Lord have mercy! I'm getting absolutely destroyed already.
For our listening audience,
I thought you get on that hat. I gotta go get something.
For our listening audience, Danny has shown up in a Tennessee Titans jersey. David is an Indianapolis Colts fan. Jared is flashing a score. I actually happen to have a Houston Texans hat just off camera. I didn't even think about this. So
we got the whole AFC South here.
No, I'm Minnesota, buddy.
The most forgotten division in football.
Oh God, why would you write that? Listen.
Wow. Listen, I'm sure they could never blow that, Garrett.
We were tanking, okay? Like we had to blow that lead because we needed Anthony Richardson. So I mean, look, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And if it's not fine, I'll be very entertaining on Twitter this 6-month IndyCar offseason. So that's all.
I mean, Titans. A lot of people say they're going to be lucky to win 6 games this year. So.
Welcome to the NWP, where we bully our guests.
Yeah, sorry, David. A Napa Racing fan says if we had Emp Lemon in here, we'd have the whole AFC South represented. The most forgotten division in football, getting some good screen time here on NWP. But Jared,
well, real quick, in all seriousness, I actually do think that all 3 of your teams are going to be way better than people think. I'm not actually like kissing ass. It's going to be the perfect year for the Vikings to play you guys. Perfect.
God, I hope so.
On that note, Jarrett, before we get moving, let's get to the lightning round. What do we got? What do we got coming up?
Well, first off, thank the Spotify crowd for voting on the poll. I asked who'd have a better 2025. 9% said Michael McDowell. 13% said Rodney Childers. 36% said Josh Berry, and 42% said Noah Gregson. So closer up top than I thought it'd be, but I can't believe McDowell's actually lower than Rodney Childers with Corey LaJoie. So this was also reported earlier by Matt Weaver that NASCAR will be allowing multiple tire compounds to be used at Richmond in August. You can tell they're desperate, man.
Something to fix the short tracks, anything.
But they're keeping the same base one, Eric, by the way. I should let you know. That's the base tire that they're using. There's
the prime tires.
Yeah. Xfinity might do a short-term renewal in 2025 as the title sponsor of the second tier series, but industry execs are unsure if Geico will return. So that's news. JD Motorsports laid off a large portion of their employees on Monday and filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in April. I do believe they're having one car show up to Indy this weekend, though, late entry.
I think they've got some late entries. I'll be interested to see if that single car makes every start or just most of the starts the rest of this year, how that works.
Is that Annunziata?
I know they've worked with Annunziata recently. I don't know who's racing this weekend.
It's just a fun-ass name to say, man. I'm not going to lie. This is from Trey Ryan. He puts out a lot of good stuff on Twitter stat-wise, so if you haven't followed him, definitely give him a follow. He said 3 of the last 4 NASCAR Cup Series races have had fewer than 10 lead changes. This is the first time it's happened since October of 1983. So,
fascinating.
The Fall Craftsman Truck Series race at Talladega is going to be the Love's RV Stop 225, meaning it's going to be 25 miles shorter than last year, or probably 9 or 10 laps, give or take. This probably is because the race is at 5:30 at night on a Friday, instead of being a doubleheader with the Xfinity race like it was for a little while.
I was shocked this last weekend at Pocono, and the truck race was on my TV at 4:45 on a Friday. I was like, what? Huh? What? Who? Yeah, the trucks? Already starting?
I had a lot of people in my chat who are like, wait, there's a race today? I thought it was tomorrow. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know either. Panini is putting Caitlin Clark on the hood of Josh Berry's car this weekend at Indianapolis.
Nice, like that. Although I noticed it's her wearing an Iowa jersey. They don't have Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark.
I think it's like
graphics
selling a specific card.
Oh, they expect more to her college days.
Yeah, I had actually seen this in a Target. Ironically, not in Indiana. I think it was in Ohio when I went to Mid Ohio. Just walking through a Target, and they have like a box set. They're like selling just Caitlin Clark cards. It's very strange, but they're only from her Iowa playing days. So it's weird, but they are literally selling boxes of Caitlin Clark cards.
Wow. Well, you can buy a box of Caitlin Clark for $19.99.
It's like a whole set. Like you're not guaranteed to get you're not guaranteed to get the whole set in the card set too. It's really
That's
interesting.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, when you're the reason that 95% of people watching the WNBA actually watch it, then kind of get that star power earned, I guess. Is there actually a storm, Danny?
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at
storming.
Okay, yeah. I just felt the wall move. I was like, okay, then.
Oh, boy.
Peter's comment in the chat about that truck race being 225. He says it'll be 250 once they go to overtime.
Yeah, we'll make it up anyway. We'll just. Yeah. I want to ask you guys because I think it will. Does it end due to darkness? Like, do they go that far?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll get it done.
Like, there's not going to be a red flag in there somewhere.
I'm going to say yes, actually.
It is the fall. When's the sunset? Will probably be around like 7:50, 8 o'clock.
I've also seen it rain in the fall there, Talladega, before randomly.
Yeah, if it rains, then yeah. But if it doesn't rain, I think they'll get it done with no stress.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, Danny. That took me by surprise. I didn't know it was going to rain here today. Daniel Suarez will be driving in the NASCAR Brazil Series in the August 4th race. That's actually on his honeymoon as well. He's getting married down there, so...
Maniac.
What a maniac. He's working during vacation.
Mm-hmm. Rockingham is also teased a return to some sort of big level racing, though they won't say anyway. That place is interesting nowadays.
Place super interesting.
And kind of closing out here, NASCAR's made a bunch of different kind of executive shakeups, moving Ben Kennedy, for instance, to executive VP. Steve Phelps is moving to a more long-term role for NASCAR with their aim of expansion globally, different stuff like that. They're looking at it as more of a olive branch to the teams, but I don't think the teams necessarily are seeing that. And Jesus Christ, Danny, I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, it's a big storm.
Wonderful. All right, well, let's get through this so we don't go out. A couple things of business here. The NWP channel for episode replays is up. It's at NWP Clips. We repurposed the channel for the clips to just have full episodes. So if you miss it, we'll try and get it by Friday. Sometimes it's Thursday, sometimes it's Saturday. Either way, it will be up. And then August 20th on the IDK Player YouTube channel, we have the 2024 NWP 400. So that should be a lot of fun. 2 signups are already up. They're on my community tab as well as John's Twitter account. And next week, we're on my channel on July 24th, which is actually my little brother Riley's birthday. So happy early birthday to Riley. I do not expect him in any way to be watching, just because he's already not into NASCAR and he probably has better things to do on his birthday than watch his brother be a fool on the internet. But that's the lightning round.
Awesome stuff. Second half of the show starts now. Before we talk Indianapolis, Brickyard 400 preview, we also have our predictions segment coming up. We've got to talk a little silly season, not just drivers, but also TV broadcasters. So there was a few different reports this week, most notably Marty Smith is reportedly in talks with Prime Video and Warner Brothers, which is basically Turner TNT, about joining their broadcast booth next season. I want to start there because I know a lot of fans are nostalgic for Marty Smith, been a college football guy at ESPN most recently, but I want to start with you on this one, David. I don't know how much you follow Marty Smith, how familiar you are. I'm sure you're pretty familiar with his work. What do you think he, as a play-by-play guy, would sound like?
It perked my ears up when I saw that. That's for sure. I mean, I can't think of him doing racing play-by-play. I don't think he ever has. He's more of like a sideline reporter, interview, long-form podcast kind of guy. I couldn't find him doing like any play-by-play of anything, but maybe I'm just a bad Googler. He hasn't done college football play-by-play?
I don't think so. I couldn't find him.
What he does for SEC is like usually more the pre-game stuff with Ryan McGee.
Well, I think he's got the voice for it. He has the knowledge of the product. And let's be honest, I think Dale Jr. would probably do most of the talking, right? So I think he honestly could be like kind of a hybrid host, but not necessarily a play-by-play guy. I could see him just kind of being a guy to try to like string together some of the stuff from like Dale Jr. and some of the other like analysts on TNT. I'm really excited for the TNT produced NASCAR broadcast. I think they're going to be really good because anything that Dale Jr. kind of has like creative control on, I trust. So yeah. I think Marty Smith, he's got the right voice. He's young, enthusiastic, energetic, and he's got the knowledge base of the product. I would vote for him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if they maybe put him in that host role, like you're saying, like a Chris Myers type role. Maybe that fits in. To me, it sounds like so between this report, excuse me, we've been getting over a cold over here. Between that report and the report that Steve Letarte is also in talks with Amazon and TNT, it feels like Dale Earnhardt Jr. is building his dream team over there. Like it feels like he's just like, yeah, let me get my former crew chief and NBC co-host, good buddy Marty Smith. Let's put all of our heads together and just have some fun. I mean, that's how it feels to me. What do you think, Jarrett?
Yeah, I think that's fully what it is, and I think it in part might back up a bit of the rumors about why he'd leave NBC to begin with, just because I think someone of his stature would want that control.
Sure.
When it comes to Marty Smith, I can't see it for him as the lead announcer. For me, a lead announcer there's just an it factor. Like I don't know how to exactly describe it. But it's like there's just certain people that you have as lead announcers where it's like, no, they can't call it. Like they can be competent as they want, or they can be great in other roles like on pit road and then be awful in a booth in Charlotte during a race that's in Talladega or somewhere else. Not pointing fingers at all. But there's just some that just can't fit that role no matter how good or knowledgeable they are. And I feel like he's in that kind of box. I want to see him, yes, in that Chris Myers role. Or kind of, if they almost did a pre-race show the way the NBC used to in like that 01, 07 era, or 06, I think, I could see him doing what like Bill Weber used to do. Like, and adding some opinion into it, because Marty Smith is fiery when you get him on something. And I feel like he'd be really good at bringing a non-biased, really fun, but also at the same time, if need be, opinionated show that fans would actually want to watch pre-race instead of just skipping until invocation.
Yeah, instead of the basic fluff we typically get now. What I'd be curious with with NBC, they're sticking around, but we know that Lee Diffie is taking over either immediately after or sometime after the Olympic break. I'll start with you on this, Danny, and then David. I know you can chime in on Lee Diffie, but with that news, that means Rick Allen could be going anywhere, could be doing anything next year. I mean, what do you think the future holds for Rick Allen, Danny?
I have to tell. Have we? I mean, I don't know. I'm asking the question. Has Mike Joy confirmed if he's returning next year already?
It's reported that he plans to confirm or plans to return, assuming they can get it. I think he needs a new contract, but I think they'll make it happen.
If they weren't, like, because honestly, he's pushing a point, probably about time for retirement, anyways. If he wasn't going to come back, I would say make the switch, get Rick Allen there. Maybe he can salvage something there. I mean, they're fine. They're okay. They're okay for the most part, talent wise in booth, but they might need someone younger besides Mike who can be the lead guy there at Fox. But Fox has his own issues away from the booth right now, so maybe Rick Allen wouldn't even going to go touch that right now. Rick Allen may want to pursue other interests in life too. We don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know what's next for Rick. I will miss him if he's not calling NASCAR races. 5 years ago, I wouldn't have said that, but now that's how I feel. David, what should fans expect, NASCAR fans, I should say, expect from Lee Diffie? I know he's dabbled in stock cars in the past, but obviously most IndyCar fans would recognize him more. What do you expect to see from Lee Diffie on the stock car side?
Well, Lee's the consummate professional. He's going to do a good job. He's going to do his homework. He's going to come in prepared. He's going to bring excitement. I mean, he is a guy who gets very animated and excited and passionate in his calls. And you always hear, especially about Fox, like the complaints that they're not showing emotion or XYZ. You're not going to have that problem with Lee Diffie. That's not really my criticism. I think the only criticism I really have of Lee, and I'm a big fan of Lee. I saw him this weekend and I shook his hand and I said, thanks for doing what you've done for IndyCar. We're going to miss you over here. But I think Lee is, I guess the only thing I would say is he's a bit of a cheerleader. It's always mostly very, very positive, and he will always take the positive route, which sometimes is great, but sometimes you kind of like want to pull your hair out because sometimes he's just gassing guys up who he shouldn't be gassing up. But I think the one problem, and I guess we'll address the elephant in the room, I'm always willing to go there, is that I'm a little bit worried that some folks are going to have a hard time getting past his accent. But I mean, frankly, I think Lee's going to do a great job. And if if the accent is the problem for a lot of people, like, I mean, you guys complain about Fox, and then you finally get somebody who's excited, prepared, and knowledgeable, and you're going to complain about him too. I hope that's not the case, but I'm a little bit worried that's what the big criticism about Lee Diffie is going to be.
I think that's fair. I mean, it's going to be the first thing that most NASCAR fans notice. I know my mom walking in the room when I was a kid, hearing Darrell Waltrip and Larry McReynolds, that was the first thing she noticed. Like, oh my gosh, these guys on the TV. And we're from Texas. And there was still like, these guys on the TV, that accent. Lee Diffie's is going to be even more shocking to a lot of traditional NASCAR fans. That's fair. But I'm looking forward to Lee Diffie. A few other names I want to mention real quick. Shannon Spake reportedly is leaving Fox. Fox continuing to just slash their NASCAR coverage across the board. Jamie McMurray, according to Adam Stern, is a hot commodity in the TV broadcast world. Will be interesting to see where he ends up. My theory is that Jamie McMurray could join Adam Alexander over at the CW, calling every Xfinity Series race next year. Stern did report that Alexander is a candidate for that job. There's also reports out there he could stay at Fox and be a part of their IndyCar coverage. So I guess just kind of, Jarrett, do you have any thoughts on those names?
I'm an Adam Alexander stan here. I think
great.
He just needs stability. The dude just needs to have the same people around him. Every week, he's basically having to baby these Cup drivers who do no research whatsoever through every single broadcast. And he manages most weeks, unless it's a completely dull race, to make it pretty good. This is not the same Adam Alexander that took over Cup coverage on TNT in 2011 and was stumbling over words. Like, he has gotten so much better. And I feel like if he had McMurray, if he had the Max with him, he'd be fine. He'd be great because he'd be able to focus. Well, he'd be able to focus on broadcasting the race rather than, okay, Joey, like, actually, this guy's in the car this week and not this one. And I'm gonna be the only one here to react to this 15-car wreck at Martinsville when Blaney and Joey, I think it was, or Suarez or whoever,
Cindric or somebody.
Cindric. Yeah, they're like, oh, there they go.
Ooh, yep.
Yeah.
No, I hope Adam Alexander is on our TVs plenty next year. To David's point earlier, he doesn't have like a strong accent, but that was like a voice that took me a while to adjust to. But his actual preparation has been huge, especially for the Xfinity Series in recent years. So any network, I think, would be lucky to have him working for them. But we can kind of move on from TV a bit. Let's talk about some drivers, specifically Riley Herbst. This has been in the news for a few weeks now, but Bob Pockrass again, reported this week that Herbst is the likely leading candidate to get a third 2311 seat. I kind of want to ask you guys, I'll start with you on this, Danny. How would you feel about that first and foremost? Let me just start there. How would you feel about Riley Herbst to 2311 with Heim staying in trucks for another year?
I mean,
Pick.
talent-wise, there's some questions there. Riley has been getting better. Riley definitely brings more money, and I'm sure Monster Energy would like their money staying for the most part in one place, along with JGR. Basically those are sister networks at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the Monster Energy connection is already there. David, I don't know how much Xfinity Series racing you watch these days. I'm sure you're familiar at least with Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst to Cup. Do you think he's Cup Series ready?
He's definitely been improving. I mean, I think when he received the most criticism was a couple of years ago. The races that I have been able to catch this year, and unfortunately I haven't been able to watch as much as I would like to, but Riley's been up there and he's been competitive. But to Danny's point, and we just got done talking about this, in fact, on the live stream I was doing for the DL 500 Club, it was obvious to me, right? It's the Monster Energy connection. I mean, sponsorship means a lot in racing. Denny Hamlin has been one of the most vocal and loud team owners that the business isn't working for him right now. So how do you do that? Well, you find a way to bring a funded driver in. And it just so happens that I won't say it's a happy accident, but it's a good situation to have where you can bring in a funded driver who one of your current sponsors is willing to step up to bring to your racing team. I mean, it's the unfortunate reality of modern racing. Will Riley thrive in Cup? Probably not, but it's a good opportunity for him. And he's got, we've seen 2311 has a good support system, right? And so drivers who do end up in that program seem to perform better than they did at their previous team. So is he going to be beating Tyler Reddick straight up head to head on that team? Hell no. But does he have an opportunity to prove a competent Cup driver? Sure.
Yeah, I look at it as it sounds like that group, the Herbst group, could help 23XI purchase that third charter. And the only reason that makes me a little nervous is, they talk about Corey Heim maybe being their driver of the future. And I think Heim is naturally more talented than Riley Herbst. But if the Herbst family is helping you acquire that charter, if they have some sort of control over that charter, like, how do you kick him out? Say if in 2 years you're like, all right, let's promote Heim. He's ready. He's won 30 truck races. Let's promote. You're going to kick. How does that deal work if the Herbsts actually help acquire that third charter? That's the only part that could get complicated, and that's probably going to be very behind the scenes. You're going to have to do a lot of digging to understand what's really going on over there if that happens. But that's also been rumored and reported, is that his family could be involved in actually expanding the team. And at that point, it's like, man, not only is he probably your worst driver, but he's also the driver that'll be the hardest to get rid of if he struggles. And that's the part that I don't love, because I think Riley could be fine in Cup. I don't think he's ever going to be great. And if he's only fine, at some point you're going to want you're going to want to find someone who's better. You're going to want to promote someone else. So we'll see. Jarrett, I know you had to step away for a second. Do you have any thoughts on Herbst before we move on?
First off, hoping it'd come out of a Vikings jersey after I went over.
No, I'm not going to go overboard with it. But I'm staying ahead of this cold right now. It's like I get a little emergency. But nice. I think when it comes to Herbst, I mean, more than likely you guys probably covered what I'm about to say, but it's obviously the talent versus money, and the money's going to win out every time. The problem comes in for sure is that if NASCAR does cap it out at 3 teams or 3 charters for a team, like I don't see a way you do kick him out unless he is wrecking so much stuff that it's just like embarrassment gets him out. And I don't think he's that bad of a driver. I mean, we've seen him at the super speedways. He's actually fairly good in his brief time in Cup.
That's true.
I think with actual teammate support, he'd be somebody who could pop up and win a Talladega or Atlanta race. Like, I think he was actually leading at Daytona for it might have been the 500 this year or last, like, or in the top 3 heading to the checkered of a stage or something.
He was top 5. Was it Fall Talladega
that
last
one too?
Year he was in the top 5 late. I don't remember.
There's been multiple. So like I think he has a claim that he could stay up there. I think that he's more than likely getting it. If it's this rumored this much and this many people are talking about it, then that 67 or 89 or whatever number they go with, like, I think he's going to be in it.
Like 89, a little Morgan Shepherd throwback.
It makes sense. He's a driver that long ago was originally in TRD's pipeline. They lost him. Now they've got him back. It makes sense.
Yeah, there's that tie for sure. But we'll see. It's not confirmed. It's just heavily rumored at this point. A couple other things real quick. Trackhouse today announced, or it was reported by Bloomberg of all sources, that a billionaire investor, the former owner or co-owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, his investment firm is now a minority stakeholder in Trackhouse. Trackhouse, I think, just continues to push the envelope. They've pushed what it means, what at track hospitality can be for sponsors. They've expanded already into MotoGP. Like, Justin Marks and that group have been very aggressive the past couple of years. And yeah, I think this is the beginning of what could be a very common trend of different ownership groups getting into NASCAR if and when the next charter agreement gets signed.
I don't think it's just a NASCAR thing. I think it's a sports thing in general.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's you look around all sorts of sports and that's what's happening. I just think NASCAR will finally catch up.
Like, I mean, there was the news last year that kind of went under the radar for NASCAR fans, but Joe Gibbs is one of the people that invested in owning the Redskins. They're still the Redskins to me. And so, like, I think that this
to that point, though, Gibbs also sold off a minority stake of his Cup team to that big ownership.
No, that's the same one.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think this is just the way it's going at this point, to keep money flowing in, and especially when you have all like a NASCAR or like any of these American leagues that want to press out into the rest of the world. Like, they're going to need that money, whether it's the right choice long term for their organization or not. Trackhouse is going to be the one that's always going to be getting ahead on it, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, whatever it might be. They're going to be the ones that are going to be pushing that envelope. And we'll find. Listen, if they're doing it, there's probably a good rhyme or reason to doing it.
Yeah. David, I don't know, dude, on the IndyCar side, I'm not as familiar. I know there are different, like, Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan, like there's tons of different owners can, combine to own teams, but have you seen an IndyCar, like bigger ownership groups buying stakes of teams? Is that something that's on people's radar?
Not yet, but I mean, IndyCar is trying to do its own charter system right now. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who, in the ownership of IndyCar would like that to be the scenario. I think the problem with so many things in IndyCar, you're kind of Johnny come lately. All the other sports are doing this. Formula One, that's the biggest, that's kind of been the motorsport leader in terms of all these big celebrities and investment groups and sports marketing companies jumping in. I know Tom Brady is invested in the Jota team at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. A lot of the celebrities in IndyCar and some of the bigger like money people came around in the 80s and 90s and really never left. There's really not a lot of new blood or new ownership, period. And that's what's so great about Justin Marks and Trackhouse and NASCAR. I mean, I think you're seeing him be aggressive because he's not 80 years old. I think genuinely that's a big problem in racing across the board, is that there's so many of the folks who were so innovative and aggressive in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they still own the biggest teams. So you don't see a lot of innovation. You don't see team owners willing to try new things or think about the business in a different way. And that's something that I really give Justin Marks a lot of credit for doing, is that he's found a new way to run his business and really get people excited and involved with it.
Yeah, no, he is leading the charge, I think, for how to do business in the modern day NASCAR Cup Series. It's fun to see. So this should be good for Trackhouse. Can only help their on-track performance. We talked in the first half of the show about Ross Chastain being right on the playoff cut line. So this year, going into next year, any improved speed would be welcomed by Trackhouse fans.
Flew Jimmy in the chat. Mr. Beast's next video be like, I'm going to buy my very own NASCAR team that one of these YouTubers can invest in with me.
Yeah, this group of 50 YouTubers just bought into
the last one to leave this box can drive my car.
They'll leave this box and then cross the track while cars are going past, climb the fence Tony Stewart style, and run up all the way to the press box and back while the cars are still on track. Wins.
That would be a dangerous video. The real life Frogger. I like it. There's a
Squid
Mr. Beast
Game.
I could see the thumbnail already.
By the way, the chat just needs 4 more likes.
Well, real quick, before we can get to our some of our fun segments, there's also a report from Adam Stern today that NASCAR hosted officials from other cities at Chicago, cities that may be interested in hosting a street race. I'm going to go just down the line. I'll start with you, Jarrett. Jarrett, what's this way on mine? Name a city that could host a street race in the next 5 years.
Pittsburgh.
Oh,
they're the most open to it. They're the ones who are like, they were the only city for the most part. Well, no, they were the only city for at least the start of it who were like, please, we want you here. Come over here. And there's so many different beautiful places that they could do in that as well. And I'm immediately
Denver personally.
I'm immediately thinking just the tunnel that they used in one of my favorite movies, Perks of Being a Wallflower. I love that lighting and stuff, and I would love to see just the footage of a stock car going through there, even just for a promo. I'd love to see that. If you want to as well, play David Bowie in the background in the commercial.
Danny, do you have a city on your mind?
Denver's an interesting one. I've seen a lot of people float around, but one that hasn't been floated around, but I'm just going to throw it out there. New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh, racing through the French Quarter. I don't think there'll be many passing opportunities. David, what about you? Do you have any ideas?
I do. Let me preface this by saying both of the cities, although Pittsburgh hasn't had one, there was a street course. IMSA had one in the early 90s in New Orleans. So it's not completely out of the question. Okay. And IndyCar raced in Denver, and in fact is looking at running in Denver in the next couple of years. So my suggestion, while NASCAR couldn't get Long Beach, why not LA?
Yeah, I think Southern California makes a ton of sense. That's
why
the Long Beach
did say that we would be racing in Southern California in some way.
Yeah, well, His nose just got a couple inches longer, unfortunately, at least for next year, probably. But shoot, you guys took all the good ones, I guess. I'll throw in my hometown of Houston. It doesn't make any sense. It's probably you can't do it like April through October. It'd be too damn hot and humid. But any other time,
hey, I'm
go for it.
I'm just saying, I brought it up and people kind of shot it down. But if you use the whole stadium aspect in the parking lot of the stadium, I mean, trying DC wouldn't necessarily be out there either. It's a market that no one would think of.
Yeah.
DC hosted an IMSA race in the mid 2000s. They ran around the parking lot of RFK Stadium.
Wow.
See, you exposed me from where I got it. They're thinking I'm a genius. Oh! I'm like, this looked like it worked.
Well, the problem is they tore up half of that racetrack. So half of it still exists, but the other half is like tennis courts now.
You could figure something out. We'll figure it out.
For sure. Oh, for sure.
If they can run a race in downtown Chicago on 4th of July weekend, I feel like nothing is off limits besides maybe Times Square.
We're going to go to Washington and we're gonna fit in the White House in some way. They have to stop at a toll booth every time they come into that turn.
No, Washington D.C. is just the Mos Eisley of America. No more wretched hive of scum and villainy. That's bipartisan, by the way. Let's keep it rolling.
Let's as the
politics.
As the chat said earlier, let's keep on trucking.
I hate everyone.
We have hit the 650 like goal. I didn't know if we'd do it tonight, but we did it, and actually like really quick time. Like it was y'all were on it tonight. Thank you all so much for the likes, for the support. Jarrett, that means we have unlocked the mystery driver of the week, or random driver of the week. We don't have an official name for it yet. Take it for what you will. But David, you've won this before, so you know how this works. Jarrett gives us one clue at a time. We each get 3 guesses. Don't use them all up right away to guess what driver he's talking about. We have to close our chats. Can't have any hints. Someone one week, David, tried to DM me the answer during the segment. So now I have to put my phone off to the side as well. It's truly a process here.
I'm not going to lie. I've actually thought about doing that to Jeff Gluck when he's live on the teardown because they're doing the guess on what the poll will be. And I've learned the Jeff Gluck poll is either 3 points more positive or negative than my poll's net positivity. And so part of me has been thinking about just texting Jeff and being like, Jeff, just look at my chat and you'll immediately know. Just use this just as a way to mess with, but I don't know if I'll do that. I'll save it for the prime opportunity. I'm not telling you guys, by the way, how many clues we have either.
Oh, I'm not allowed to look at the chat for this, right? I know the rules.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, because he'd say a number. It'd be a hand.
Chat is gone. Chat is gone.
Well, the last couple, you guys are like, oh, well, I can wait to do my pick if I, with that many, or I can't wait when there's this many. I'm like, so no more,
Gotcha.
No more telling you how many clues there are, because that's a clue in and of itself.
Okay.
All right, and they're already guessing. This
we're not even guessing.
This
they got it right.
None yet.
Okay.
This random driver began racing at the age of 12.
Okay. A lot of kids do that these days.
What is that, 5th, 6th grade?
I think 6th grade.
Actually, no, I'd be too young by today's standards.
How many guesses do I get?
3.
Carl Edwards.
No.
Okay.
Oh my God!
Good Lord, David already?
He came out of sewing and he's feeling a little overconfident after his last appearance.
I figured out. I only took
got it last time he was here, so I guess he thought he had it.
I should remind everyone that Eric's on a roll, kind of 3 of the last 5 with Skinner, Stefanik, and Gerhardt, and Danny has Kerry Earnhardt, and John last week got Dick Trickle. So.
I thought I got Gerhardt.
I should have swooped Dick Trickle out from under.
You might have got.
It was too nice.
You probably did. I'm probably writing it wrong. I probably can't even read my own cat scratch here. This random driver drove in all of the top 3 divisions of NASCAR.
Okay, good for him.
You sure it's not Carl Edwards? No, just kidding.
Well, it's hitting.
It sounds
so
a lot
far
like Carl Edwards.
This random driver was actually an early driver for Michael Waltrip Racing.
It's not Carl Edwards.
No, that eliminates Carl.
The Carl connections end. This random driver left racing for half a decade.
Did he come back? Or she? He or she? I guess that implies they eventually came back. Okay.
And this is a driver who has won?
I didn't say that. I said they'd race in all 3 series.
Race in all 3 series. Okay.
Mm-hmm. This random driver's father was a diesel truck racer.
Diesel truck. Wow.
Okay.
And this random driver also became a diesel truck racer.
Is that what he was doing during that 5-year gap?
I like that the chat is like all over the place.
They haven't gotten it yet?
I think some might have.
Uh-oh.
I feel like I've heard that stat before, but I'm like,
I'm lost.
Yeah.
Nothing. Keep it coming, Jarrett.
This random driver has actually served on the NASCAR appeals panel.
Oh.
How long did you say they were out?
What?
How long did you say they were out? Just asking that one again.
About half a decade.
I'm just going to throw it out there. Trevor Bayne.
And that is wrong.
It was worth a shot. He did race from very early on.
This random driver applied to participate in the Amazing Race 16, but was denied.
I don't even remember what the Amazing Race was.
It was like a CBS show or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like big in the 90s and early 2000s.
It was on every day after football.
None of us, including David, have ever tweeted about this random driver.
I should have waited. That would have eliminated mine.
Okay, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna take my second swing. David Rudiman.
No.
Okay.
That seemed like the obvious one. That was too obvious.
You're welcome. I got it off the board.
So for those who are jumping in right now or haven't been keeping track, Eric has 3 guesses left. Danny has 2. David has 1.
All right, I'll guess soon, guys. I promise.
This random driver DNF'd in 33 of 72 National Touring Series races.
Holy God.
So they made starts in all 3, but didn't make a lot of finishes.
They are booty, is what you're saying.
Oh, man.
This random driver is not actually known by their actual first name. A little bit of a stage name.
Oh.
Or
Wait,
nickname.
hold on. That's a big hint.
This is gonna bother me when I hear it. I just know I know this, and I'm not just it's blanking.
This random driver was complimented by none other than Dale Jarrett on their driving talent.
Nice. It's a solid reference.
I like that somebody guessed Dale Jarrett right before I said that, and I'm like, here we go. This random driver's first Xfinity start was at Orange County Speedway.
That was a long time ago.
So this isn't. You said this person made like their first start for MWR, or they were an early.
They were an
MWR
early driver of the program.
Okay. Ugh. When did they form? Like mid 2000s.
This random driver made 8 Cup starts, 61 Xfinity starts, and 3 truck starts.
They barely did anything.
Oh my God.
It was actually Dale Jarrett that informed this random driver of qualifying into the 2002 Daytona 500.
Like told him, "Hey, you're in."
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that sounds familiar.
Is it Stanton Barrett?
Is that your guess?
That's my guess.
It is a wrong guess. So you're out.
No, David, no.
All right, that's all right.
You can check the chat now. You can taunt the other 2.
Yeah.
Oh.
Does the chat have it? Have they all figured it out?
If the chat has it, that pisses me off because I should have known that. But we'll see.
This random driver's best finishes were 24th in the 2002 Daytona 500, 10th in a 1994 Watkins Glen Xfinity race, and 18th in a 2003 truck race.
I need like another weird, like fun fact.
This random driver left racing in 2005.
I kind of have a guess. I'm gonna wait for one more clue because I don't think Danny's anywhere close. Give me one more clue.
This random driver refused to be labeled as a start and parker.
That doesn't help me at all.
Oh, that don't matter if you refuse.
It sounds like you said 30-something DNFs. That sounds like a starting Parker to me.
David's losing his mind.
I know it now. God, I wish I wouldn't have guessed. Oh, no. I know it. And the chat also knows it, but...
Yeah.
Why did I swing at Carl Edwards? Why?
The last time this random driver was at a NASCAR race reportedly was 2020 at Talladega.
How the heck did they get in?
Danny, you and I were at that race.
Oh, wait, yeah. That's the fall
That's
one.
kind of funny.
I'm thinking the spring one for some reason.
I have a guess, and I'm pretty sure he drove for MWR. I don't recall, but the nickname thing, is it Buckshot Jones?
It is not.
Oh,
that was a good guess. The chat really thought it was Buckshot.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So 2 guesses apiece left for Eric and Danny, and
Damn,
no idea how many clues are left either. This random driver is an Iowa native. Close to Missouri. Just twist the knife a little more. This random driver owned an interior design business.
Oh, wait,
What the hell is that hint?
Is that what they did during their break? Like, what a wacky stat or a fun that is a fun fact. Actually, I need more of those. That's the kind of thing that's going to help us out.
I actually have a couple fun facts stemming from that. This random driver created sofas, chairs, and vintage furniture for the likes of Miranda Lambert and Whoopi Goldberg.
Wow.
I have no clue.
And this random driver also was the one who helped plan and design Kelly Earnhardt Miller's 2011 wedding, which will make the next fact even more fun for me. I will let you know you are running out of facts to guess from. So
Is it? I'll throw out one more guess.
Mm-hmm.
No, never mind. That's not it. I was going to say Kenny Wallace, but that's not it. There's no way.
You sure? Might be an artist.
I don't know. Well, no, that. But I'm not even. Yeah, I know anything about interior design.
This random driver also had a rivalry with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Dale Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And they DNF'd half their races.
How are they even around them?
Yeah, wait, hold on a minute.
This rivalry actually came to a head at Texas Motor Speedway.
I don't know any Dale Jr.
I
fun
don't remember him
facts.
fighting
Danny,
at Texas.
Yeah, this is all you, Danny. I don't know anything. I don't got any Dale Jr. fun facts.
You've been to Texas more during that time than me.
Wait, what year was it?
I'll let you know it was a cup race.
Okay, well, I went to one cup race at Texas in the mid 2000s.
Well,
so
it narrows it down a little bit from the range I was giving you because they left racing in 2005.
There's a hint that you gave earlier that's like a dead giveaway.
Yep.
When they like now that I know, and I won't say what hint it was, but it's so obvious now. It's so funny.
This random driver ran all but one of their cup starts for BAM Racing.
BAM Racing? Oh my God.
David's losing it. The chat's losing it.
I'm gonna guess. We've been guessing guys, but is it Shauna Robinson?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
Danny
really?
got it. Yep.
Wait, is her real name not Shauna?
Yeah, I believe it's. I want to say it's Eileen. I think it starts with an E.
Oh man.
So Danny,
good job.
Takes the lead.
The
Wow.
5-year break. What could the 5-year break possibly have been for? Someone in the chat said she was going to drive for Bud Moore and then she got pregnant. I'm like, well, that hint makes way more sense now.
Yeah.
It would have been even more funny of a result because the last ones were that she took exception to how the media covered Danica Patrick, saying that she was
on
the
the
first
appeals panel. I have heard her name recently on the appeals panel. So yeah, I should. That makes sense.
Was known as a modern NASCAR pioneer. Had a battle with breast cancer from 2014 to 2017.
That would definitely gave it away.
And the one for that was like the hit you over the head, get it already, is this random driver was the first woman to ever win a NASCAR sanctioned event.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, BAM Racing gave it away for me because I played NASCAR 2003 a lot, and she was in that car in that game.
I like how they gave her a ponytail in that, but not Kyle Petty.
The start and park comment was the one where I got really upset because I do remember that, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Oh yeah,
Yep.
I should have. I forgot about that. She did. Oh man,
her
well, that
and
was a good
Jennifer
one,
Jo
Jared.
Cobb.
Yeah, that was a good one, Jarrett. That was a very good one. Well played, Danny. Getting back,
Yeah,
back in the saddle.
and good on you, Jared, because you knew while you were setting all this up, we'd all just instantly be thinking guys for some reason.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I had to do when I did Jennifer Jo Cobb. But yeah, that was 26 guesses facts it took or whatever clues. So it's like more than the last 3 combined.
Yeah, we've been speed running for a while. This was a tough one. But thank you all for helping us hit 650 likes. Hope you all enjoyed that. Got our final couple of segments here. Before we talk Indianapolis specifically, we do our prediction segment. I have to run to the restroom. I'm about to pee super bad. So, Jared, I'm going to let you run through what we got right and what we got wrong last week. I'll be back in a moment.
All right, I got you. There's a reason Eric's leaving right now, and it ain't because he has to go to the bathroom.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, maybe. I also chugged this like whole 40-ounce Stanley Cup in the last hour.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm getting over a cold. Yeah, I need liquid.
He's getting over it in the middle of it. Danny's getting over it at the tail end, and I'm just trying to stay ahead of it. So the predictions segment. Each host and guest will make up to 3 NASCAR, motorsports, or show-related predictions. And if it's about any of the hosts or anyone like that, just tell us to take the headphones off. That way we're not listening in. We'll keep track of these each week with the hosts on their right and wrong predictions. Keep them concise within 2 to 3 years of when the prediction is made. So for the accountability session, I had nothing come off the board this week. So good for me. Eric had 2 things come off the board, both in the negative column. He said that the option tires of the All-Star race would become the normal short track tires by the beginning of the Richmond race in August. They're one of them, but no, they're not going to be the main tires on that one. And said the 2025 Chicago Street Race would be confirmed by the city by the end of next week of his prediction, which would have been July the 13th. And, it's the 17th and it's still not confirmed. Danny, I apologize now. I completely missed on one of these. So you had said a while ago that WWE champion and Davenport, Iowa native Seth Rollins would be the Grand Marshal at Iowa Speedway for the Cup race. I missed that one, so that's on me, chat. Lay it on me. You also said Josh Berry would get AM Racing their 2nd consecutive top 10 finish. Danny, you will now be the one scrutinized by all the Haley defenders, as I have been all weekend. As for the standings at the moment, I am leading with 36.58% correct, Eric at 33.96%, and Danny at 27.66%.
Tough. Sounds like I made it just in time for the bad news. I thought I was going to pass you up, Jarrett. That has not been the case. But yes, now we all get to make our new predictions. What's the order? Let's have Jarrett, let's have you go first. We'll have David go last.
Oh, okay.
That's okay with you.
Yeah, that's good. My first one will be that no RCR car will finish in the top 10 in a non-super speedway race in Cup before the playoffs. I don't think Kyle Busch or Austin Dillon or Ty Dillon.
4 races. Yeah, or Ty Dillon this week.
Ty Dillon, he could.
Yeah. So
I will go next. Ford has been on a roll. Notably, Chevy has not been. So my prediction is that Chevy, from now to the end of the season, from this point Indy on, Chevy will win the fewest Cup races of the 3 manufacturers.
Watch them win like every race after this.
No chance.
This did not work for the Indy 500, but I'm going to hope it works for the Brickyard 400 because they have an all-star game Saturday, and after that, they are off for the Olympic break. I'm going to say WNBA Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark will be at IMS on Sunday as a guest at the Brickyard 400.
Decent shot. David, what's your first prediction?
Let's think. I kind of want to get oddly specific. I enjoy getting oddly specific. I say there will be 30 cars that finish on the lead lap in the Brickyard 400.
That is a very specific number. Okay. All right.
All right. I'm going to make my second one in a specific one, but I think it'll be interesting depending on when this driver starts their Cup career full time. By the end of 2027, SVG will be in the top 100 of the NASCAR Cup Series all-time wins list. He has to have 4 career wins to do that, so he'll have to have 3 wins, maybe in 3 years, maybe in 2 if he does another year of Xfinity and does part-time. Not a guarantee.
That's reasonable.
Hopefully I get this one, because I'd feel like a complete moron if they go back to Chicago another year or 2 and he doesn't get another win. But it's 3 years from now.
Okay. My next prediction, this guy's been red hot lately. I don't think anyone's really talking about him as a serious contender, but they should be. Tyler Reddick is going to win the regular season championship. He's 15 points back. He's third.
My Danny's NFL team, the Titans, will beat Eric, Jarrett, and David's teams at least once this season, that being the Texans, Vikings, and Colts. They play all 3.
The Vikings one is an interesting prediction because they only get one shot at him.
Yeah, all or nothing. Should be an evenly matched game.
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
Yes, it is.
Sorry.
Okay. So I am going to predict that Kyle Larson will finish higher in the Brickyard 400 than he did in the Indy 500.
Ooh, that's unless he has an issue, that's probably.
I think that's an easy one for sure, but
there's plenty of issues. Checkers or wreckers, that's him. So
never underestimate Kyle Larson having something stupid happen to him. That's what I've realized.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Jarrett, start us off. Final round.
I think that at least one driver will crash into the turn 1 wall at Indianapolis due to a brake failure.
Ooh.
We've seen these brakes have trouble at way smaller tracks, for instance, like a Gateway, a flat track. Similar, we've seen some issues before at at Pocono. I think we're definitely going to see it at Indy, especially since they only have 1 practice session, and even Kyle Larson has voiced concerns about having that little amount of time to get ready to go. So I think that's going to happen. I don't want it to. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, my final prediction, I feel like I've gone really bold today on my first 2. I'm going to go, maybe this third pick might be my boldest yet. Jimmy Johnson, top 20 this weekend.
39 cars this week, by the way.
He's a 4-time Brickyard winner. He's not gonna win.
Yeah, wasn't he like a 10-time Dover winner or 11?
Yeah, but he did good in practice, if I remember that race.
I'm sure Blue Jimmy would feel very happy about that. Local racer Joseph Newgarden, who last week the wonderful city of Hendersonville, Tennessee, dedicated a sign to go on the highway in his honor for being the winner of the last 2 Indy 500s, will win the IndyCar finale later this year at Nashville Superspeedway.
That's a good prediction.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think I like Eric's thought on Jimmy Johnson too, because one of the things that Kyle Larson said to us a lot in May was that actually he thought the IndyCar, while it of course is racing a lot faster, actually there's a lot of similarities between the racing style of the IndyCar at Indianapolis and the Cup car. So Jimmy Johnson has some experience in an IndyCar at Indianapolis recently. I wouldn't be surprised if that helps him a little bit, especially if it helps Kyle Larson as well. So I wouldn't necessarily think that Jimmy's way like out to lunch. He might have a little bit of something in his back pocket. But so I went oddly specific. I went easy, and I'll go oddly specific again. I think the race will see 6 different drivers lead.
What was that stat earlier, Jarrett? 3 of the last 4 Cup races have seen like 10 or less lead changes, something like that. Yeah. I could
It
see
just
that
has to be
again.
6 different drivers.
Yeah.
That could be a fuel sequence. That could be
That
somebody
sounds
staying
about
up.
right. I think the recent history backs that prediction up quite a bit, actually. Well, that was fun. Well, you won't be here next week, David, but we will,
I
and we
know.
will hold ourselves all accountable on next week's accountability
You
segment.
guys can hold me accountable on Twitter. It's okay. You guys know how to get it to hold me.
Side note, I wanted to point something out. ESPN is doing this top 100 athletes since the year 2000 list.
I saw this.
They're up to number 25. Like they've done 100 through 26, I think. Jimmy Johnson comes in at number 47, which pissed me off, not because it's like too low or anything, but because 48 was right there.
Yeah, just give him that if you're gonna put him there.
Can you imagine any other dynasty team player star being ranked that low other than motorsports?
Well, what I found even more interesting was that Michael Schumacher was, I believe, at number 29. So they value because he won 7 F1 titles, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Were they all in the? I can't remember. They weren't all in the 2000s though.
Oh, see,
He
maybe
won like 3 or 4 in the 90s. But Jimmy
Ooh.
Johnson did all of his championships in the 2000s, right? Say for 1, 2.
See, I didn't.
He had
all in the
2,
2000s.
No, he had 3 in the 2010s.
Yeah, well, this was since 2000. So
Yeah.
the 90s
Oh.
wouldn't count.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. I just saw that he had 7 titles and thought, oh, okay. So they put 7 F1 titles 18 positions ahead of 7 NASCAR titles, but I didn't even think about the fact that he might have won some in the 90s.
Yeah, he won like 3 or 4 in the 90s.
Interesting. Because like Jeff Gordon wasn't on the list because almost all his titles came in the
All
90s.
but one.
I bet they snubbed Scott Dixon. There's no way Scott Dixon's on that list.
I have plenty of problems with the list beyond motorsports, believe me. But I thought it was interesting, so I wanted to share. Lewis Hamilton's not on the list, but I'm sure he'll be in the top 25. I would not.
Yeah, so should Verstappen should be too.
Yeah, he might be too.
Schumacher had 5 straight from 2000 to 2004.
Okay. Yeah, so he won the 94 title, and then it would have been 90.
I just turned
90.
it off.
But most importantly, he lost to Carl Edwards.
He did in the race of champions.
I remember seeing that.
It's just a side note. Who's got to be number 1 on that list? Tom Brady?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Or MJ. Yeah. Well, no, MJ not in the 2000s. Not in the
90s. Yeah, so it has to be. It's got to be Tom Brady, right?
It's got to be. I mean, I'm just wondering.
They'll have LeBron pretty high, but I think Brady's got to be above him.
I'm just wondering. And I'm saying this as a Vikings. Well, I'm saying this as a Vikings fan. I swear to God, if they put Adrian Peterson over Jimmy Johnson, I'd lose it. Like, I love Purple Jesus as much as anyone, but like, he fell off a damn cliff after 2015. If he should be on the list. If he's not, that's a travesty.
Where's Peyton Manning?
He was 26.
Okay, that's fair.
I'll take it. This is where me and David unite.
Yeah, damn right. Hook 'em horns, right? Is that?
He won the Glue Factory a damn Super Bowl.
He did.
Oh my gosh.
He should have won 2, but they didn't go for the perfect seat. Listen,
I'm not gonna get mad because David knows he said the wrong UT on purpose.
Hey, David and I both hate the 2009 Saints.
Well, it would have been much more. It would have been a much more fun Super Bowl between Peyton Manning and Brett Favre. They probably would have thrown a record number of interceptions, but it would have been a hell of a game.
It would have been great. We should probably get back to NASCAR.
Yeah. I love talking about other sports.
Let's wrap things up with our Indianapolis preview. Pray for my voice as we go through this race by race. The Truck Series, they will race on Friday night. It's the T-Sport 200 at IRP, 200-lap race. Stage breakdown is 60, 60, and 80. Starts at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1. Weather looks good. Little chance of rain. Ty Majeski dominated this race a year ago. He is the defending winner. The Xfinity race will be Saturday. It's the Pennzoil 250, 100 laps. This will be at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 30, 30, 40. So the stage breakdown starts at 3:30 p.m. on USA Network.
Dude.
You can also... Oh, noon. Oh, yeah. No, I thought you said dude. Like, what? Did I get something wrong? Yes, weather also looks good. Kyle Busch, you have to go all the way back to 2019 is the most recent Xfinity winner on the oval Indianapolis configuration. And then for Cup, the Brickyard 400 is back Sunday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC. It's 160 laps, 50, 50, 60 is the stage breakdown. 5% chance of rain. You'll love to see it. Kevin Harvick is the defending Brickyard 400 winner. You got to go back to the pandemic year 2020. Danny is actively writing in our chat. Thank you for this, Danny. He is actively reminding me of Matt Kenseth's close but no cigar Brickyard 400 finish in 2020. Yeah, that race was the only fun race as a Kenseth fan that whole year because it was the one crown jewel he was missing from his resume, and he was a restart away and stealing one for Chip Ganassi. That would have been hysterical.
I remember the show that week, and you came on with like so much energy. You're like, he ran up front.
Oh my God, it was so beautiful. He did run top 10 his first race back at Darlington. I thought, okay, he's going to win a race sometime this year. And Indianapolis was almost it, but it was the lone highlight that entire summer.
Real quick note, Xfinity race will have the super speedway package this week.
Thank you for reminding me that it's not the full super speedway. It's like the body and aero is intermediate, but I think the horsepower is dialed
version of it, basically.
Yes. So they did this before at Indy, didn't they? In Michigan, they did it a few years ago. Yes. Something similar.
This was the 4-wide like stage finish package, right?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
That's all anyone remembers from it.
It's probably going to be similar to that. Interesting.
That's where NASCAR fans are like modern Star Wars fans. You just jingle keys in front of them, and they're like, "Oh, we got to see the next one."
I'm surprised, and I wanted to get in a situation where I was in the same room as Kevin Harvick at some point. It didn't happen. I wanted to press Kevin Harvick. Why did he not come out of retirement for this race, like to defend his win? Because I feel like Kevin Harvick and Indy, like they just go together so well. Like if you're gonna do it, you should do it at this race at the return. Defend your victory, dude. Come on.
Or because he knows that if he went with anybody, be SHR and that car be trash.
Well, it's yeah.
Oh, you can get a fourth Penske car, right?
Put him in the Rick Ware 15. Well,
that's obviously way more competitive, Eric.
Very competitive are our pick points for the NWP prediction segment. Chat, you guys are still holding on to the lead. You have 333 points. Danny has moved back into second place, 17 back. I am third, 21 points back, and Jarrett is fourth, 25 points back. Still pretty close, but chat, you have a respectable lead midway through the season. So we will go kind of in reverse order, beginning with our guest. David, you get first choice in all of these. Yeah, you get the opportunity. You have the opportunity to steal some heavyweights off the board. So we're going to go one at a time, starting with the Truck Series race. I'm not sure if you have access to the entry list or if you've seen the entry list, but Truck Series pick to win at IRP. David, who you got?
Get ready to all cross off your number one. I guarantee you.
Well, actually, you might be surprised about who I'm going to pick. You know what? I felt good about my Nick Sanchez pick, and I think I got it right at Charlotte. I'm going to go Nick Sanchez.
Oh, that is bold. Okay.
So all four, actually.
Yeah, there you go. So, well, you're welcome, guys. You get who you want. Xfinity.
Well, no, I'll go next.
No.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
You're good. Yeah. Jared, who's your truck?
Christian Eckes.
Oh, okay.
I'm going Eckes. He has been the best guy for the whole year, I would say, at the short tracks. And I don't think that Majeski, even though he was great last year, NASCAR dinged him. And we saw after that, it really made a difference.
Yep, and that's why I'm torn, because I had Heim as my number one, but I have Majeski on my list because of how good he was here a year ago. But you make a good point. I feel like if I have Heim on the board, I got to take him. So I'm going to go with Corey Heim.
Well, I can't believe it. I was left to tie Majeski, so I'm going to take him.
That's reasonable.
Unless the chat surprisingly takes him, I'm going to wait till the chat's done. I do want to say who my number 3 was that I was very close to taking if Majeski had been off the board.
I might know.
Chat is going with maybe Grant Enfinger.
It looks
like
a
lot of 11s.
Yeah.
Okay, since he's not even being said and he's not even in talk, I was nearly going to say Luke Fenhouse, actually.
Oh, what is he in the 66?
Bold.
Okay.
Background on short tracks and
Chad is
same
going with
equipment
the
as Tom
finger.
Majeski.
The finger.
Ross is in this race as well, but I don't know if that's truly that's like a 11th place truck he's going to drag to a 5th place finish.
He won at Darlington.
Yeah, with probably an 8th place truck.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Busch also crashed out in the first 3 laps.
Yeah. No, Ross is really good, so I'm surprised he's not getting more mention, but I think they're going Enfinger. So let's move on to Xfinity, back on the big Indianapolis Oval. David, start us off.
Justin Allgaier.
Shit.
Okay, that was one of my
That's
picks.
one.
Yeah, that was mine.
I'm going to take the first round draft pick there. You guys, I took Peyton Manning. You guys can get Ryan Leaf. You're welcome.
Jared, who you got?
Well, I definitely think that someone like Bubba will also think this guy's like Ryan Leaf. I'm going to go AA, Eric Almirola.
Oh, that's right. He's back.
He's back.
Guess who's back?
Then I get my first pick again of Cole Custer. I'll go back to back with Cole Custer. How about that?
You got AA, you got CC, I got AA.
CC, baby. All right, Danny, who's your Xfinity pick?
That leaves me with my number 3, everyone's favorite. We all love him. Austin Hill, everybody.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
not a bad pick.
Chat.
That's exactly who would win the Xfinity race at Indy is Austin Hill. That's exactly who would win. He's going to do the biggest, baddest, fattest burnout on the bricks.
Oh,
too.
yeah. He's going to find a way to line it up where he can start at the very back and drag every brick.
Thing.
And
then
then
all
he's going to be
black.
black. It's all going to
And
He'll
he'll
go
blame
to the
it.
infield and do it too.
And he'll blame it on somebody else.
No. So what he'll do is, David, he will back up as far as he can to the back and do it. And, it'll kind of set the stop when the front bumper gets there. He'll whip it around, back it up to the other side, then do it again the other way.
Chat might be. I'm waiting for a favorite to emerge.
I cannot believe people are picking Connor Daly. Like, I love Connor, man, but like, come on, man. If he wins, I'll tell you, I want to know where the party is, because if Daly wins that damn thing, the place is gonna burn down.
They're just looking for the list. IndyCar experience, yes.
Not in an Xfinity car.
I think it's plurality for either Chandler Smith or Jesse Love.
I'm seeing a lot of ones.
I'm all over the place. I'm literally gonna make a 4-wide poll here.
The 2 has to be in it for sure.
Yeah,
lots of 97s.
97 come out of nowhere.
All right, I saw a lot of Creeds earlier, so I'm putting him in there as well. So we got these 4. I'm gonna let it run for about 15 seconds. So make your bets quick.
With arms wide open. Well, Creed's probably gonna finish second.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. All right, and I know this was a delay, but still 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's basically a 4-way fucking tie. End poll right now. And it is...
It's
Mayor.
Pretty good.
Mayor pulled away barely at the end, but it was basically a 4-way tie at first.
I'm just laughing away. Eric was like, it's a 4-way effing tie.
I was running out of breath. All right, this has gone on long enough. Now we got to get to the Cup race, the Brickyard 400. It's been 30 years since the inaugural 400. Who is going to suck this weekend, David?
Oh, I forgot we get to pick this.
I know, it's fun.
Oh man, I don't want to say it.
We can overlap, by the way. So
okay, we can overlap. Oh man, I picked him to finish better than he did in the Indy 500, but also I just think like this is setting up, like I think he might be cursed in that paint scheme. Like this is setting up that Kyle Larson's going to get crashed in turn 1, lap 1. Kyle Larson.
Is he running that same paint scheme again for this race?
Yes,
yeah, he's running the
orange. What do you got against Justin Allgaier's paint scheme, man?
I picked him in Xfinity. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm in the same. Well, I might be in the same vein a little bit when it comes to the first name here, Kyle Busch. It's just been that season, man. I mean, he already crashed at Indy.
I was going to take the low-hanging fruit and go Austin Dillon. That's right. I forgot Kyle Busch did crash in that Indy test. I'll go Austin Dillon. Danny, I don't know who your pick is, but the chat was almost unanimously going with Ty Dillon. So we got the clean RCR sweep.
Yeah,
33 car.
We're keeping it RCR in this house because it's Kyle Busch. He once won here twice in a row, and now
And now what? All right. I didn't even notice that was a Brody Kostecki shirt.
It is.
Until you just showed that. That's hilarious.
I tried to buy all the obscure shirts last year. So I have a Kamui Kobayashi shirt. I've got the Kostecki shirt. And then I bought an SVG Chicago winner shirt. So I was like, I'm gonna complete all of the obscure drivers
I love
here.
that.
Yeah.
Do you have a Kimi Räikkönen Project 91? That's all you're missing.
No, they weren't set. I think they were so long sold out by the time I got over to the Trackhouse trade.
I don't know if they're supposed to be called CM or centimeter in the chat, but they say BJ McGoat will win.
Is he in the field? Is he racing this weekend?
Might be.
He probably with like MBM. He's been running for them some.
Let's move on to our dark horse pick for the Cup Series race. Again, we'll start with you, David.
We can overlap here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not prepared to pick him to win the race. But I say that with a big but. There is some numerology here at play that I've found very, very convincing that I cannot not point to it. In years ending with a 4 at the Brickyard 400, this car is undefeated. It is the 24 car. And I think that at least I got to at least give the dark horse, although I have a stronger feeling about the driver I'm going to pick, William Byron.
We'll allow that as a dark horse.
Is that a dark horse? Is that not a dark horse, you think?
Kind of not, but
really?
He hasn't won in a while. We can weasel our way around it.
True.
It's been a while.
Has he run well at Indy before?
I guess he barely has any experience here.
He's only got a couple of years here. I don't even know.
I'm going to go with somebody who I think, just because of where it's at, will have a good performance. I'm going to go Chase Briscoe.
The chat is very split on whether that's a dark horse or not. Some people think it is. Some people it is. Interesting.
I'm going with a different Stewart-Haas car. I'll go with Josh Berry. He had a good top 5 qualifying effort at Pocono. If he can just hold on to that track position, now he might have a good day.
We went 24, 14, 4.
What about you, Danny?
I'm going to actually fit. What, Jared, what did you say the trend was?
We went 24, 14, 4.
And
why are they picking the 20? The 21's the worst.
I'm sticking in that trend because he won on the road course, and I think he'll still do halfway decent on the oval. Michael McDowell.
Ooh, that's a good pick. That's honestly that's a good pick.
Come on, chat, do 54 just so we can keep the trend going.
I cannot believe they're picking Harrison Burton.
Yeah, I think we got to give him Harrison Burton. I guess they bought into
guys.
The
We've already done suck pick.
Oh no!
Oh my
Don't
bad.
do that.
I turned on the delay. I'm sorry. That's on me, guys. They still think we're no.
Oh,
yeah, they're going Harrison Burton. I guess. All right.
Well,
okay. 54 is making a push. They could have picked 84. It was right there on the table, guys.
Well,
no, not Jimmy.
This is the pick that matters. The win pick ultimately. Who's going to win the Brickyard 400? David.
I think Chad should pick 84 this time. Actually.
Me too.
I've had a feeling about him for a couple of weeks now, and I hate to say it because I think it's not going to be the most exciting winner in the world, but I can't get him out of my head. Joey Logano.
Ooh, I thought someone might take him, not first.
That was my number 4.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna go with this guy because I think that he's actually been under the radar by a lot of people. Under the radar speed. I think he's had under the radar finishes, and I think that this entire manufacturer is really turning it on, and I think he could have won at Pocono. I'm going to go Brad Keselowski. He's also had a really good history at the Brickyard.
Wow. Great minds think alike. I really like that Keselowski pick, but I like that Logano pick even more, especially when you consider this could be a track position race, and Paul Wolfe is very aggressive. Mm-hmm. Shoot, I guess I'll have to go with my third guy. He's not as exciting of a pick, but I know he wants to win this race really freaking badly. I think Denny Hamlin finally gets it done.
Ooh.
And my number 1 pick is on the board still. David, I loved what you said about years and 4s. I also saw something on Twitter earlier this week where someone said all this hype for the Indy Oval return just for this guy to win. William Byron, the 24 won the first race here, and it will win the first race back.
God, that's funny. Chat is, I haven't really been looking. They're kind of all over the place.
They are. There's a lot of 5s.
Some Larsons just came in. Some Reddicks.
There's some Reddicks that have flown through.
Yeah, there's a few Reddicks coming in.
Ooh,
now.
here comes a lot of Reddick.
Yeah, there's a lot
of Reddick.
What's my number 3, to be fair?
There's still a lot of Larsons. Let me run a quick poll between Larson and Reddick. Let's just see.
Since this driver isn't any of our picks and none of the chat, I am surprised after the speed he showed last week in traffic that Chase Elliott was no one's pick.
I'm a little. Elliott was. I had 4, and I'm a little surprised no one's mentioned Blaney yet. Not even in the chat. Nobody thinks Blaney can go back to back.
I don't think people really look at Blaney that much when it comes to like a favorite.
Yeah,
I just don't think anybody wants a Mickey Mouse win at the Brickyard.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
Not Blaney.
2.
Blaney's
Not even close.
It looks like a pretty clear-cut favorite here. The chat is going with Kyle Larson. It's never a terrible consolation prize by any means. It's all or nothing, though.
Watch, he's leading the whole race, and it's a speeding penalty that takes him out.
Again?
Yeah. So Larson is the chat's pick. So that's going to do it for the Brickyard 400 preview. Actually, before we wrap this show up, since we have you here, David, I do want to get your take as a local Speedway, Indiana resident. How big is it for this track to have this race back? Do you get the impression that there's more hype than maybe in the late 2010s, or are people just sort of excited, but it is just another race? Like, what is the vibe you feel like going into this weekend?
It's hard to tell. I think we're going to know a little bit more. And it's funny because I'm saying the closer we get, we are about as close as we could possibly be to it. I guess the thing I could say is this: while I haven't heard a lot of hype from the locals, everything that I've heard, everybody that I've asked, and particularly people who are connected to the racetrack, ticket sales sound like they're up. I had heard from someone that turn 4 is almost sold out, which that's really good. I think that I'll put it this way. I think that the NASCAR fans, especially in this area, are going to support the oval. And I think that we're going to see, while it won't be like an amazing crowd, right? I think it'll look a lot better than the road course did. And thus it means more ticket sales for the racetrack. And it means that NBC is going to be happier because it's a more prestigious race with hopefully more people in the stands to make it look like a bigger deal. Will it ever be? I mean, I got to give a shout out, since I don't think anyone else has in this podcast, to Brock Beard, NASCAR man, for putting together that documentary on the first Brickyard. If you haven't checked it out, definitely do it. I mean, it's never going to reach those heights again because the stakes aren't as high anymore for the Brickyard. I mean, there's so many races now in the Midwest when previously there weren't. The prestige of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, while extremely high still for the Indianapolis 500, let's face it, I raced a go-kart there. You can race a vintage car if you want. It's not the same like prestige or mystique to have a race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway anymore like it was in 1994. All of that being said, I am hopeful. I'm crossing my fingers. I want to be optimistic that this is going to be a really exciting race. I hope it will be. I hope the next gen car races the way I hope it will at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But I have a suspicion that while they haven't really said it yet, I think the Brickyard 400 is going to remain on the oval for a very long time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Fans seem to be mostly enthusiastic. Drivers honestly seem to be the most enthusiastic, on the NASCAR side. They want to race the oval. But your point about maybe the track being a little less, the mystique, the being sort of taken away from it some. I heard some people talking about like Xfinity racing the oval, and I think they make a good point. Like, does the Xfinity series need to race on the Indianapolis oval? Like, does that hurt the prestige of the Brickyard 400 to have the Xfinity cars go through it the day before? I don't know. I think having IRP down the road for trucks and maybe throw Xfinity in there would be perfect. I get that's a good point. Like, has Indianapolis, I hate to say it, been like somewhat cheapened, commodified a little bit, by how much is now run there. I mean, it hurts NASCAR more than it hurts IndyCar. Obviously, the Indy 500 has no issues maintaining its level of prestige and enthusiasm. But it's interesting. You know more about it than we do, David. That's why I wanted to ask you and get your take coming into the weekend. But chat, before we go tonight, I want to remind everyone that we will be on the Icebergs channel. Gosh, he's over there. I keep pointing the wrong direction. The Icebergs channel next week, Wednesday, July 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Now, we've run a little long tonight, but I'm going to roll through the final super chats. Thank you all so much for the support tonight. First up here, where'd we leave off? Hunter Nixon Fishing says, I'm not so confident in the 24 getting to Phoenix. They've not had the same speed that they had the first part of last year. Yeah, Byron.
He's a dark horse. He's a dark horse.
Shoot, the super chat just supported David's pick. You're right. He has been up and down, very inconsistent the last couple months. It's been a while since he got those 3 wins. Super Noob says, hopefully Byron keeps the tradition of the 24 winning at Indy during years ending in 4. Whoa. David, was that your super chat? This came in an hour and a half ago. How did? That's incredible.
He's cooking.
Jan, thank you for the super chat. First on the channel. Appreciate that. Grizzly Industries said, could Kyle Busch be on the retirement trail? We had another comment like this earlier in the show. I don't think so. It sounds like RCR is going to try and build around him. That leadership shuffle recently makes me think that RCR is truly taking Kyle Busch's needs seriously. They've got a generational talent for the first time in a while. They can't waste it. Groovy Goose, good to see you. I would find LaJoy, at least because of the way Kyle Busch spun into turn one, is one of the worst angles in NASCAR. We're lucky he hit cars and not the wall. It was an ugly crash, but NASCAR doesn't penalize ugly crashes. They penalize obviously blatant, intentional acts of retaliation, and I just don't think you could prove that what LaJoy did was truly retaliation. We can argue if they should, change the rules, but the rules are the rules. That just precedent says that's probably not a penalty. But that's a different debate. Ross Crash Dane, Corey has been involved in an incident every week since Sonoma. On the bright side, the Olympics means 2 straight weeks Corey won't be able to.
Oh, wait, there's a man running on to this race we have going on here in Paris. Who is it? It's Corey LaJoy, everybody.
Why is he jumping in the river?
Oh, that's tough.
Matt Parsons, this is an unpopular opinion, but I think fans have started to rest too hard on the rubbing is racing ideology. I understand bump and runs, but there has to be a line, and LaJoy's move is over it. See, that's the debate that we can have if we want to going forward, if maybe that precedent does need to be changed. We talked about that in the first half of the show. The outside line, thank you for the 15, very generous. When I went to Kentucky in 19, they kept running out of hot dogs. Like, how are you not prepared for that? And for 2011, I was on a bus for 3 hours at the end where the non-race day would be only 15 minutes. Yeah, prayers to anyone who was in that Kentucky traffic in 2011. I've heard horror stories after horror stories.
I've drove past there. It's insane how big the grandstands are driving past that from the interstate. Like,
it's very vertical, isn't it? They just kind of go up.
That track looks way bigger than it should.
Yeah, interesting. Grid flow. Should NASCAR go back to the Indy Roval? What do you think, David?
Xfinity should go back to the Indy
Just
Roval?
NASCAR. Should they go back to the road course at Indy after this year?
Oh, absolutely. So here's what's funny is that I thought last year's race on the road course was excellent. The problem is, generally speaking, NASCAR fans didn't like it. The oval is prestigious. It means more to the TV partner. It means more to the ticket buyers. Like, whether or not it's a better racing product doesn't matter. It is prestige. Yeah. It's nostalgia. That's what you're selling at the Brickyard.
Yeah. I don't remember what the numbers were last year, but I saw this year the purse for the weekend purse is about $2 million more than it is a typical NASCAR race weekend. So that's Indianapolis for you.
I like the race.
Let me say it this way. I would take the 2020 schedule where Xfinity ran the road course and Cup the oval. That would be my ideal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Scrapyard says Seattle, I think, would make for a fun street circuit. Who here remembers the Seattle circuit from Gran Turismo?
David, which is a real street course. They theoretically could run it.
Nobody knows sent a couple super chats asking, does anyone have stories of seeing NASCAR haulers out in the wild?
Yeah. Yeah, actually,
I didn't expect menacing laughter to such an innocent question.
Well, it was actually the year, Eric, you and I went together to Martinsville. If you remember, we had that hotel out in, I think it was like Greenville, or it might have been Greensboro. I can't remember which.
Yeah, probably Greensboro.
Yeah, I think it was Greensboro. And I just got in the line of the truck haulers and went 110 in this giant ass line of haulers down the interstate because the cops don't pull anyone over in there. And so I think wherever our hotel was, it was like an hour and a half away, and I got there in like an hour 5.
Wow.
It was great.
Making good time.
It was awesome.
Daniel Meredith Jr. says, excited to see Larson's new paint scheme at Indy. I saw somebody in my comments earlier said, yay, my Justin Allgaier diecast is now finally a Kyle Larson diecast. Zach Sackers says, should the Brickyard 400 have tire compound options like the future, like other future tracks? Also, is it flat enough to use rain tires? They aren't going to use rain tires. It's too fast.
Way too fast.
As far as tire compound options, I know NASCAR is testing that at Richmond. David says thumbs up. I think more testing might be necessary, but yeah, in the future we could see that at any track.
Anything that can give more strategy in NASCAR, I'm down for.
At this point, yeah, I agree. The cars are so equal. We need more variables. Hello FR says, if Indy sucks, should it be reconfigured to Atlanta? That's funny.
You guys took Iowa away from me. Don't take Indy.
Okay, I'm just imagining how that looks like. Indy doesn't become like a longer turn. It keeps that short turn, but the banking just goes up massive all of a sudden, and it comes back down.
And it's a mile and a half.
Just basically a big ramp up, twist down, and come back down, and then there you go.
I know what's ruining it. We need to take the bricks out and just put concrete.
Daniel sent a super chat, says, bring back the Charlotte Oval. I think most of us
I'm good with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the fall race. The Oodles 69, is Junior not in the booth affecting TV ratings?
I don't think so.
If it is, that's a really sad reason to only watch for that.
Yeah, I hope it's not, but yeah.
I'm watching just to hear Junior.
All they want to hear is, "Oh, we got a car on the wall."
He does have a podcast every week you could listen to get that fix. I mean, I don't know. CM, thank you for the 10. Do you guys think that, as well as limiting cup starts per driver in the lower series, they should limit cup guy starts per team? I feel the rotation of cup guys in the same car every week hurts the series. Like, are they basically saying they don't like having, Chastain in the same truck a few times a year? I feel like as long as they have that 5 race limit or 7, whatever it is now in the different series, I think we've found a sweet spot where it's not, the cup guys aren't taking over, but they still get a chance to run some races and bring sponsorship money to the team. I think where the way it works now is okay.
And then there are those guys who are like, I guess Ty Gibbs still falls in that category. If they're still very fresh to cup, they can run a lot more.
Yeah. Brad Warner, thanks for the 10. Do any of you guys think Bowman has a legit chance to win the championship this year? Great podcast. Keep up the good work. Danny immediately says no. Come on, Danny.
Not the championship. I'm happy he's in the playoffs, but
he's not a favorite, but I give him a shot at getting to the championship four. He's been last 2 weeks. He's looked good. David Bell says, wishing you guys a great weekend. Will passing be far and in between at Indy? I believe so in the front 5. Hope I am wrong. I think it'll look a lot like Pocono, which Jarrett pointed out earlier. Very few lead changes. I'm not sure there's any lead changes under green and clean air. I expect much of the same if I had to guess. Scrapyard. Imagine Chastain smashing a melon on the bricks.
Oh,
how's that? How do you feel about that?
I didn't think about that. I don't know how. Actually, I don't know how I feel about that because like, I almost want to let it. I almost want to let that slide. I almost want to let that. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Here is David Land, gatekeeper of bricks.
Well, listen. I'm actually in the press room now, so I can hold these guys accountable if I really want to.
All right, we'll know who asked that question if it comes up. Indy F1 fan Marquis says, "Good evening, crew. Fresh in from the DL 500 Club." There you go, David.
Hell yeah! Thank you
one
for
stream
supporting.
to the other.
Nice.
That's awesome. Rowdy 8 Diecast says, "Just hope there's no rain for once when I go." The weather forecast looks very promising. Fingers crossed. Fred Dog 81. David, what do you think was botched more, the IndyCar hybrid engines or NASCAR's electric prototypes? Sorry to go slightly off topic.
Well,
that's a big question. I know.
We haven't. I mean, I thought maybe I missed something, but like they just did a demo run of the electric prototype, right? So
they just sort of announced it. They didn't really do anything with it. They drove it around for a minute.
I think that NASCAR is probably cooking on with gas on the electric car. If I'm being honest, I think manufacturers are going to line up for that, but we'll see.
Interesting. Yeah. Groovy Goose says, "How about a race on Bourbon Street?" Yeah, made New Orleans. That would be crazy. That would be fun. Reverend Rasheem Hall Stewart says, "Raja to either the 17 Xfinity car or a JRM car for next year." Could see that. There's a lot of good young drivers. I mean, Carson Kvapil could get the 88, for example. We've seen some good young drivers come through the ranks. We'll see. Justin M. Drake. What about a street course in Tampa? Maybe St. Petersburg. I mean, I don't know. That's about it. Does Tampa have any sort of street circuit set up? I don't know about that.
They had, I think, again, I'm going to say IMSA freaking raced in every city. I'm pretty sure IMSA raced in Tampa too.
That's pretty great. Yeah. Good for them. I think it's American GM says Vancouver was a street race in the mid-90s for Champ Car. That'd be hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. Yes, you get to go international and you get another street race, perhaps. NASCARson sent a couple here. Pocono in person. Trucks bad. Rainbows in the sky were great. Xfinity, Cole with the cool win. I wore Stuart Haas racing merch at the track. Cup racing was awful. I loved seeing Haley Deegan before the race. Yeah, she did have an appearance I saw, even though she's no longer racing in NASCAR. I thought that was a little awkward.
She was also at Iowa.
Yeah, I saw
yes,
that.
Yes. Nash Carson said also, hey guys, I'll be at the Brickyard 400 this weekend. Anyone else going? It'll be my 10th 400, and I love every single memory I've had there. Chat, let us know if you will be there and you might see Nash Carson. Bailey, random fact, Chris Buescher hasn't raced an Xfinity race since Homestead 2015 when he won the championship. That is kind of random that he's not made a single Xfinity. I mean, I can't fact check that at the moment, but assuming that's true, that is a bit surprising. Fred Dog 81. I'm going real quick, guys. We got a ton of super chats here. Would you like to see the Cup Series at Winchester or another Indianapolis short track? Not to replace Indy, but have a separate race. We mentioned IRP.
Yeah, I was about to say, would they even fit?
Yeah, not a big enough venue.
I feel like if NASCAR is racing in Indiana, I might as well just race at the big track.
Street course, downtown Indianapolis. There you go. Boom.
All right.
I fixed
Look
it.
at this. He really is. Put David in charge of NASCAR for a day. Who knows what kind of damage he could do.
We would blow some tires out with the potholes. Let me tell you. Goodyear would have the worst weekend of all time.
NASCAR says, what's your favorite Brickyard Cup race in person or in general? My best race was the 2017 Casey Kane win. Favorite was LeGordon's last win in 2014. I only went in 2007. I remember Tony Stewart won, and I wasn't happy about that. But otherwise, it was fun.
I rewatched 05 a couple weeks ago, and I was actually surprised how much better it was than I remember.
I mean, it's hard for me to not smile at McMurray winning it, capping off a pretty great season in 2010, but also Paul Menard getting his one and only win in it. It's really cool.
For Menard!
2014 Brickyard. That was my first one, and Jeff Gordon won. I was very happy.
That's cool. And speaking of that, Danny, CM says Paul Menard returns to ice the field.
I don't think the field would be ready. I think they would be visibly shaking if they saw that man step in there.
Alex says, you guys seen the Top Gear video of a 900 horsepower COT in the tunnel? It's so good with headphones cranked full volume. Hope all is well. Get Top Gear's audio department over to Fox for next season, please.
Yeah.
CM says, give the people what they crave. Dirt Indy.
There's a dirt track.
Yeah, just do the little dirt track inside. There you go. Isaac the Jedi says Dale Jr. is the new DW. Great driver, better broadcaster. Ooh,
I'd say BP.
Discussion.
To me, he's Benny Parsons.
Okay. I see that. Yep. Daniel Meredith Jr. says, I hope Larson races in next year's Indy 500. Do you think he will, David? What's your prediction?
So everything that I keep hearing is he has a 2-year contract.
He's gonna do it. Okay.
Yes. I would say expect it, most likely. Though, of course, it is McLaren, so God only knows what's going to happen in the next a year, right?
Yeah. Fred Dog 81, say something nice about the Olympics, Jarrett. I know it sucks, but those athletes have feelings too. Have a good break and see you next week, guys. Jarrett's he's a slave to the schedule.
They're the greatest athletes in the world at getting away with doping.
Gosh, Daniel here, not you, Danny. This guy, Daniel here, says, I'm volunteering my services to be a pallbearer for LaJoy's career at the end of the season.
Damn.
I need to start reading these ahead of time.
God.
Jay Fendi says, I hope Chastain wins at the Brickyard. Watermelon smash on the bricks. No. Also, one of my college friends will compete. Julia Bergman will compete in the Olympics this year for Brazil's volleyball team. Cool.
Nice.
Good luck, Brazil. That's the one gold medal I hope they get.
I like Brazil volleyball.
People sent to and said Indy needs to be repaved to an all brick surface. Classic. Daniel with another super chat says, also get more cup drivers to race Indy 500. Who, I know people have said Kyle Busch in the past, maybe besides Kyle Busch. David, who would be your next choice from NASCAR to race at Indy?
Right off the top of my head, although I don't think it's a popular choice, I think Austin Cindric wouldn't do a bad job.
Oh, okay. It's not the flashiest name, but you got the Penske connection there.
He would be the easiest one to get it done. We'll put it that way.
That's probably true. 3 to go, boys. Thank you for sticking with us. Michael Jensen, thoughts on MX5 Cup going to Martinsville? Any other weird track series combos you'd like to see?
I mean,
that one's straight out of iRacing.
Do some Mazdas at Bristol too while we're at it.
It sounds like an NR Night moon car kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know what other weird track combos shoot, but that does sound wild. Bobby Blair, thank you for the 5. Hey David, are you going to Nashville for the IndyCar finale?
Absolutely.
Heck yeah, sweet deal.
Buy a ticket. Go to that race. It'll be cool.
GN NASCAR fan to wrap up the night. In-person fans will be blessed with Alan Bestwick on the PA. That's great. That is honestly, that's worth the price of admission alone. And finally, actually, from one more from Bobby, question for David: when was your first Indy 500 in person and Brickyard? You mentioned you already said what your first Brickyard 400 was, but what about your first Indy 500?
Yes, it's kind of surprising that I went to the Brickyard as late as I did because my family was going, but I was too young, and then they stopped going in 2002, which was 2002, my first Indianapolis 500. I was sitting right in front of the controversy with Elio and Paul Tracy, although I didn't see it because the guy standing up in front of me was taller than 8-year-old David. So I was there. It happened right in front of me. Didn't see it.
That's wild. Yeah. I can't relate to that, having people block my view. I'm always the self-conscious guy who...
David or Eric was 6'7" out of the womb.
Yeah, I was probably that guy blocking your view. No. Well, that's going to do it for tonight. David, thank you so much for joining us the second half of the show and sticking with us a little after we originally intended on going. Really do appreciate it.
Oh, that's anytime.
One more time for everyone watching. First, thank you for the super chats and for sticking with us. We really do appreciate the support. Very, very kind of all of you. And we will be back on Jarrett's channel, The Iceberg, next week, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. David, have a wonderful time at Indianapolis this weekend. Again, we appreciate you being on the show, and we will talk to you all next time on NWP. Have a wonderful weekend, folks.
Bye-bye.
Lighten up. Let's go.
Drivers! Start your engine!
Am I supposed to mute?
No, David. I love that we just like Mystery Science 3000, like during the outro.
He's in the 30, the 40. He's got nothing but daylight.
Up next on NWP Afterwards.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yep. No, we're not even done with that.
We're not done.
Oh, we're not?
Yeah.
How y'all doing?
And okay, I'm good. Mine. You good? You good, Eric?
Hey.